Welcome to the Alita Army Channel Radio KAOS, episode number 85, the Cyborg Technology of Alita Battle Angel, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your kinda host, the Creek Indian there from Denver, Colorado, and our co-host here is Angelus from Brisbane, Australia.
Good day, people.
And also in the background pushing buttons is star of Elian, Tony. He's in Michigan.
Hey.
And hey, how's it going? So anyway, we're kind of having a little bit of chaos going here today, but that's cool. I guess Angelus, how's it going over there in Australia?
Well, we don't, unlike New South Wales where Max is, we don't have daylight savings time, so I am fired up, ready to go. I am on day 3 of 6 days off, so I'm
Nice.
still cruising along.
Is this like a vacation for you or something?
Oh yeah, it is a short one. I mean,
What?
it's like 4 days on, 4 days off, but because I'm just a casual, like sometimes it can like stretch out to 5 days of work. Sometimes it's just 3, and then I'm filling in days and nights and all over the place. But it's really good money.
Nice.
Let's just say if I didn't have 2 house payments to pay off, I could afford an Alita bus with 2
You mean
pages.
like the Creek has, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So well, that's a great job, you know, if you get a job and a month later you get a week vacation. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some other. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Angelus.
Oh, I was just going to say that, I'm because of my sleeping schedule and work schedule, just shifts from day to night, back to day again. You know, like I said, sometimes my sleep schedule is good, sometimes it's off kilter, but I'm raring to go. My mind, head, and heart is just all chanting Alita.
Yeah. Well, we do have some other guests coming on, but we're in a little bit of chaos mode here. So I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with the news, and then hopefully some of these folks will come on. But we could go right in after the news into the into the main topic. So go ahead, Angelus.
All righty. Is it coming up?
Yep.
And that one, and then that one. Alrighty, first part of the day, Charlie Schmidt, our Hunter Warrior reporter with his boots on the ground. I don't know what Flex Patrol is, but I'd sign up if he weren't so dedicated himself. But he's reporting that Alita Battle Angel continues to hit those top 10 marks. Still in the top 10 list in Belgium and Luxembourg and Indonesia, which is where my parents migrated from. Belgium and Luxembourg now lead the pack of 13 nations, with Alita having been in Disney Plus top 10 for 8 days. And just let me bring that back up. So that is a total list, 13 countries where Alita's basically been in their respective top 10 lists. How many days they've been in the top 10. And, I mean, some people might look at it from a negative point of view and say, oh, yeah, that's not that much. But, I mean, considering that, this was lambasted before it was even released, you had critics and, smear articles, from the get-go. And ever since that first shot was fired, the Alita army stood their ground, and this is the result. And it's only gone from strength to strength. So, as you can see, Belgium and Luxembourg are leading the pack with Luxembourg just edging out. But I mean, still, all those other ones are pretty impressive. What's the lowest? The lowest one there is Indonesia at 2 days, and even then, that's only yesterday and the day before. So it's only very recent.
Yeah.
You could go for 4 or 5. So, I mean, the next one up is 4 days at the Netherlands. So
Yeah. It's kind of nice that Alita's been in the top 10 in all these countries. I just kind of wish, I wish we're in the U.S. here. I wish we would kind of start contributing to some of that, because Alita was on Hulu for a while, and perhaps I don't think she was on Netflix, but there was another streaming. It might have been Prime Video. I'm not sure which, but or Amazon Prime, but kind of wish that us US types would not be bringing up the rear on this stuff, so that kind of looks like we are a little bit.
Well, as they said in Ghostbusters 2, better late than never.
Yes.
Bonus points for those that actually get the reference. Excuse me. No, I don't have COVID.
That's all right.
But I will take a quick drink to clear my throat. Then on to the next piece. Can anyone read Japanese? No? Because it's not the news article I was thinking of. Review. All right, so this is a article about a demo for another Cyberpunk game, but essentially it in part of its review, it brings up Alita Battle Angel as like one of those common references.
Yeah.
To whatever demographic it's trying to sort of go for, when you think of when you think of superhero movies, you think of Marvel or DC sort of thing.
Yep.
You think of military movies, you think of Top Gun. And if you think of Cyberpunk, Alita Battle Angel. And in this particular medium, if you will, when it comes to games, Cyberpunk games, Alita is one of them that's like even though she does have a game, but it's a very old one, as we all know. But even though she doesn't have a more contemporary game, she's still what they call a mainstay of the genre, of the cyberpunk, dystopian cyberpunk genre. And, like I always keep on saying, if it wasn't for the movie, who knows where Alita would be as an IP right now.
Is Alita one of the characters in this game?
No. The game is called, I believe that's the name of the game there. I know.
Yeah.
Mutation.
Because that one character holding that sword right there is kind of reminiscent of Alita, isn't she?
It is, yeah. Like Blade Runner 2049, Cyberpunk 2077, Katana Zero, Alita Battle Angel, Ghost Runner. These are just a few common examples of cyberpunk oriented.
Yeah.
And it just goes on. I won't play that because we'll probably get yeeted. It goes on to just describe the story. And, but the reason why we've included this as part of the news is that it just goes to show the potential for the kind of game that we could maybe, hopefully get if they make Alita into a video game. I mean, worst case scenario, you take any other game like, I don't know, Smash Brothers or Tekken or something like that and just put Alita skin in there, and I'd probably be happy. And then still want more later on.
Yeah.
But and that's that. So read the article. If not, we'll probably link it later on. But check it out. I did read it once over, so I can't remember too many bits and pieces. But
nice they reference Alita, isn't it? That keeps everything fresh, I guess.
Exactly. And like I said, it's not like it's a result of the Leader Army's efforts in keeping her prevalent is the word.
Yeah.
As opposed to unknown.
Yeah, keeping her current. Exactly. We just got joined by Max Tack. So how's it going, Max Stack? Max.
No, you didn't. I've been
Wakey.
here all along. You just haven't noticed me yet.
Bullshit.
yeah. Yeah. A little bit of chaos today, but we got through it pretty good. So no problem.
Well, it wouldn't be really chaos without the chaos.
Chaos. That's exactly right.
Ironically enough, I think this comes courtesy of Maxi, which then becomes courtesy of Cranjam in that order. And Gunham Kaseki Senki 8. Like I said, does anyone read Japanese? Well, I fortunately Googled that. And there we go. So basically, Mars Chronicle 8 is already sort of available for pre-order.
Whoa.
Don't think it's quite
That's in
been
Japan.
printed.
Is that in Japan? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's been
It's
translated yet. No, that's the announcement in Japan, which is from Cranjam, passed on through me. So I didn't come up with
Cool.
it.
Cool. Well, Creek, you better hurry up and finish off volume 7, which I'm a little over halfway through it. So got to get on the stick here, though.
So the release date for that is November 22, as Maxi said, in Japan. But, give it a couple months after that. Let's just say, well, give it time even after Christmas and New Year's.
Cross fingers, dudes, because, the last one got delayed a few times. So let's hope this one doesn't have the same problem.
Yeah, so let's just say early February on an average. It could be a little bit earlier. It might very well be much later. But, give it time for the translators to do their thing. And, we should be looking at Mars Chronicles 8. In the meantime, I'm sure most of us will be really focusing on Kishiro's channel and whatnot, because it's usually he releases videos on like little artworks that he's been working on for the manga. For example, he did a video on how he did the actual the cover for this one as well. Like he, as he literally drawn it, colored it, etc., etc. So it's very, very good. Now we have got an absolute bonkers amount of articles, starting with. Where's this one? Can I click on it and it will work? No, I have to click on that.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Can you control plus that one up a bit, because it's tiny?
Yeah, I can barely see it. There you go. Nice.
Oh, we got it covered. I think they've always been, maybe they might have started as impartial, but I guess we sort of won them over, and they've always sort of been positive towards the IP. But yeah, this is just basically like an article itself covering what Charlie's already reported on. And I think it focuses on Disney Plus Canada, but I mean, as you saw from Charlie's report, it's been in top 10 lists like in 13 countries already.
Well, I wish Disney Plus would put it on in the U.S.
So it basically says that, Cameron's been working on it for so long and decided to go for Avatar, so he handed it over to Rodriguez, got over just a touch over 400 million. Ever since then, supporters have been running sustained campaign. That's us. To try and will a sequel into existence. And it's been a pretty tough battle at times. But even Rodriguez admitting that he's hoping to continued involvement with Disney in the Star Wars sandbox may lead to the studio taking a closer look at more Alita content. So it's a rather short article, but like I said, it's just confirming what we already know, and that it's like articles like this that really, again, like we discussed earlier, really keep Alita in the hearts and minds of the general public. That's being streamed right now as we speak. Stars. This I haven't streamed yet, but just let me 15 minutes. Okay, yeah. So obviously we definitely won't play it. But have any of you guys seen it?
No, I have not seen it.
Hold on, I'm back. So yeah,
Yeah.
that video there, y'all, everybody should watch that video. That video is too funny. Yeah, it's 15 minutes long, but like, okay, it's funny at the beginning, and then there's some story in the middle, and there's still a couple of laughs in the middle. But I think the ending gets kind of, I think it's a little bit, in my opinion, it was a little bit sort of deep, somewhat.
Yeah.
So I think it's really worth playing, and hey, why not just play some now? I mean, I think we've got the time. Um, I don't
I
know if
just
it'll
didn't
come
want to.
through. Yeah, it might not even come through if you play it that way though. I don't know.
Hey, Angelus, can you put the link for that thing in the chat so everybody can?
Well, that's the Army website. So we'll put the link
Oh,
in
okay. Okay.
the chat. They can look it up. I'll 100% be watching it later on, but I guess I've just been winding down from like a 5-day stretch of work, and like with all the news that have been coming through and preparing for the stream, both Creakies and Radio Chaos. I guess I just haven't really found the time. But yeah, I'll definitely be watching it. And it is on the Alita Army website, so
Okay, cool.
definitely headed it up. Like, I mean, the fact that Stars like really recommending it and pushing it, like it's just like the icing on the cake for me. So I
Well,
already think it's going to be good. And
Yeah, like another thing that I
yeah,
like
go ahead.
about it is that they had so they had Captain not Picard. He had a Captain Picard figure and a couple of other figures, right? And basically, Alita went missing, and so they all went on this adventure to find her.
Oh,
And so
hello.
they go, yeah, and so they go to like Joker's clubhouse and stuff like that to try to find her. And she's working, she's taking out the trash there.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
Picard.
so
There's
it's
Michael
cool.
Jackson.
yeah. Michael Jackson.
But yeah, oh wow, it really looks like an interesting video. 100% I'll be watching it. But
Yeah, I will too, for sure.
you even got that like stop start motion thing going. Anyway, I've been not played for too much longer. But yes, check it out. Now, Screen Rant. We know they've been at odds in the very early past, but I guess they finally started to warm up because Screen Rant listed Alita as 10 of the greatest guilty pleasure movies, according to Ranker. Now, I believe the article itself already says that it's just their opinion because, like, the title itself, excuse me, the title itself implies that it's going to be very opinion based. Everyone's going to have their own personal favorites. Everyone's going to have their own personal guilty pleasures, and that's a good thing. Variety isn't necessarily bad.
So
But
let's talk about Ranker. For those who weren't there, I can't remember exactly when in 2019 that it was, but
Yeah.
we had participated in a number of polls that they had on the website, and there were like 10 greatest action movies or
By
whatever.
participated, he means smash the shit out of.
Yeah. And so the Ranker got involved and started removing our votes, and then made it so that you couldn't even like vote for Alita at all. And so I can probably find the thread on Twitter where we had actually got a response from the guy who, I guess he was the CEO of Ranker or whatever. And so we had some back and forth with him on Twitter. Uh, if give me a minute and I could probably find those links if you're interested in reading what he had to say. And but we're just like, okay, you advertise your site as a place where the fans get to determine the greatest hits or whatever, and yet you're stepping in and kind of saying, no, we gonna we're gonna affect the outcome. So it's not really the fans then, It's like you're still trying to uphold
Yeah.
the status quo or whatever. So why not just drop the facade or whatever and I don't know. But if you want, I can find the link to those tweets.
I well,
It was still fans. It just wasn't fans of Alita. Like we were
Yeah.
persecuted,
Yeah.
fuckers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the creek wasn't there then, but if the creek had been there, he'd have gone goddamn berserk is what he would have done.
Yeah.
I won't oppose Star or anyone looking it up, but for me personally, I'm happy with his take or explanation, in the sense that not that I've like forgive and forget, but because it's like way back in the past, it's like yeah, all right, we know you fucked up, and that's all I care about.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get on with loving what I do best, and that's loving a leader. So,
Do they have a new CEO or something there, Tony? What's the
I
scoop?
don't I don't know. We haven't like been. It was just like we had that run in with Ranker, and then we never looked back after that. So this is. I'm actually kind of surprised to see Ranker come up right now, especially when having Alita
Yeah.
in the top 10 of anything. That's kind of like completely out of
Yeah.
nowhere, because
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
the stuff that went down, and we kind of just banished them into like the
Yeah.
realm of forgotten things. Like it comes
Yeah.
back up again, and the leaders in the top 10. It's like so that's pretty
Yeah.
cool because we didn't affect
Yeah.
that poll at all. And when you
Yeah.
look at the other movies on the list, these are like good movies. These are classic movies. So
Yep.
I'm looking at it like you have people out there who probably a bunch of snobs who just for whatever reason don't want to admit that they really like something, and so they
Yeah.
they would just say this is a guilty pleasure movie, you know. But I
Yeah.
mean, look at those movies. That's a great. Um,
There's some good movies. Yeah.
well,
yeah, I
let's
mean,
go all the way
Christmas
back to
Vacation is a
10, like
classic. I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too. That
Willy
is a good
Wonka,
movie.
Home Alone,
Oh, I like that one
Raiders of the
too.
Lost
Yeah.
Ark,
I love the
Christmas
Mummy.
Vacation.
So
I
Alita was
love
able to
Robin
make this
Williams.
list without our input. That's that's amazing, you know.
That's kind.
Oh,
That's kind of
oh,
like that's kind of like a mea culpa, isn't it?
oh, oh my.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters and Pirates and the leaders like duking it out with these guys.
Yeah.
Like Star said, it's you know a compliment and a thumbs up on the leader's resume. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, so I wasn't like offended at all because when people say guilty pleasure, you have to like consider the source, like
Yeah. Yeah.
like you just have to consider that these people for whatever reason just don't want to admit that they like something.
Yeah. Or either that, or
And
they realize, that they made a mistake back in 2019, and now they're trying to make amends somehow. I guess I don't know.
or just
Yeah,
trying to cover
I
it
don't
up.
think. Yeah, this is like the fans are doing that. So or the so-called. I don't know who's controlling the list, but it's not something that somebody from before would be like, oh, let's
Yeah.
fix this. We made a mistake in the past. Now this is completely
Yeah.
un out of our hands, and it just shows that more people than we think really like Alita.
Yeah. Is
Speaking of
Alita?
Alita,
Yeah. Is that? I can't read Japanese, but I've watched KAOS play it so much that I think I recognize that one pole as having maybe looking like it's Alita. That down a little bit lower scroll there.
we're smashing it. But
Yeah.
I'm just showing this for the benefit of the people in chat.
Yeah.
To sum it up, what they're doing is that this is like some sort of like a Japanese
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
website or article.
Alita is
Translate it.
smashing
Read
it
it.
in Japan.
Well,
What would you
with
do?
our help, with
Well,
our
yeah,
help.
but I mean, but still, yeah. There you go. Yeah, that first one's Alita. I recognize those first couple of what katakana or whatever it is
Yeah.
characters.
Plus the
Yeah.
fact they've got the code in there as well.
Yeah.
So it's got Alita, 2001 A Space Odyssey. Obviously, the 2001 gives it away.
Yeah.
And then that, I believe, is Interstellar.
See, there's a good reason to watch KAOS's games. You can recognize Alita's name when you see it.
You mean Arita, don't you?
Yeah, Arita. Yeah,
Yes.
Arita. Yeah,
Re.
yeah.
But yes, so Alita's yet another poll. But what I guess separates this one from the others is that it's in the heart of Japan. Where even Alita, the live action movie, didn't do as well as you'd think. But again, it's like, back in February 2019, the seed was planted and it's just blossomed from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Alita wasn't watched a lot in Japan, so they're trying to trump it up a bit, the local fans.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've been reading when I hit the translate button. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're just like us. It got overlooked. For them, it's more like Alita is something that came from our country. So how dare we overlook it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for them, it's a little bit more personal for them.
And basically, the winner will have a special article based on the opinions of the poll, and obviously, Alita or Arita is winning.
Arita. Yeah. 5 hours left. Who's the third one there? You mentioned before, but the third.
Interstellar.
Oh, Interstellar. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, up against 2 space travel movies, science fiction. Cool.
No,
I mean, like heavy hitters too. You got Christopher.
Yeah.
I think Interstellar is Christopher Nolan, and Kubrick. That's a classic one. That's a very esoteric movie. So those are two legends that if Alita wins, that says a lot.
Yeah. Scroll back up a little bit there, Angelus. I wanted to see that what it said a little bit more. Just up the that one there. What is that?
Tweet itself. The tweet that's
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so after if they, wait a minute, did they just? Oh, that's the old score. So
That's an old
they
one.
will.
Yeah.
So they will publish. They will publish an article, right? So we definitely want that extra little bit of publicity if we can get it.
We can't get into that vote, I guess.
No, I was going to say that's only 752. It's now over 2,000, and Alita 54%.
Yeah.
So 1,300 votes later, and she jumped 20%.
Yeah. What's that? Who's doing the tweet? Let me see that. I want because Creek wants to vote. So anyway, yeah. Oh, I can't read that. Oh, EIGA.com. Okay.
Hang on, I'll just
hit the translate button. Dun, dun, dun.
I'll send it to you if you like.
Yeah, I was about to say just go to the timeline, the Leader Army timeline. You probably find it retweeted there.
I was just going to send it to your DM.
Okay. Well, I wrote it down anyway, just to be safe.
No worries. All right, so to finish off the news, because I double checked to make sure that there wasn't anything else. Like a lot of it was published on the Leader Army website, which is awesome. So kudos to any of the 3 people that did all this. But to finish it off is one that happened very earlier on in the week, but after the previous episode. And that is, get back there, you little
Did our buddy Mike write that?
Yes. Now, basically what happened was, long story short, Junkie XL or Tom Holkenborg released a tweet saying that, he's done a lot of scores for a lot of movies, and he's still blown away that none has affected people and himself more than Alita. Yeah, where is it? There it is.
Yeah.
One of the greatest feelings as a film composer is seeing how individuals connect with the characters I've helped bring life to. Perhaps no other film I've worked on continues to resonate with individuals as much as Alita Battle Angel seems to have.
Yeah.
And again, that's all on you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
again, check out the tweet. Like
Yeah.
he got a channel with like episodes of what he's done on these scores, and everyone's hopped onto this one. I love it. And like, the music is, what makes it so much more compelling. But
Nice.
yeah. Yeah. So basically, it's not just all sequel talk in the Alita Army, though. The melodic accompaniment for Alita is praiseworthy in its own right. And Tom's done stuff like with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and a few other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. I think he did for Mortal Engines as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if a sequel is ever done, I mean, I can't think of anyone else but Junkie XL to do the score.
You mean when the sequel is done?
Exactly.
No,
Did I say what?
he hasn't done anything particularly important. Just Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah. That.
Which is a
There is
global
that.
phenomenon.
Godzilla versus Kong, Mad Max
Yeah.
Fury Road. Nothing
Yeah,
important.
nothing really big, And I only got to say, Hoka Hey, Alita Army, it's a good day to fight for a sequel. That's all I got to say.
Some video games as well. He's done some God of War.
Yeah.
That was a huge series.
Oh, there's a tweet by Vladdy.
I'm
Yeah,
not
so
surprised.
these are all the tweets that Sal was talking about. Like he's quoted, like he's included the main one plus some of the replies as well, like from Foxfire,
Mhm.
Bloody, Dizzy, Amy, and Star reply. Amy replied to Star's tweet there. So yeah, I mean, again, it's just another article that really keeps hammering home and making sure that Alita is not forgotten. And sometimes there might be patches of like nothing's happening in Step to Alita Army. We'll stir something up. Yeah, you can bet your bottom dollar on that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's all the news there is that I've found, and that's either on the Alita Army website or it's been posted otherwise. So. I mean, have I covered everything? Do any of you guys think of like maybe?
Well, Maxie, do you want to do the search thing again, or you want me to do it?
Oh, you can do it, man.
Okay.
I'm happy to take a back seat on this one.
Well, yeah, like I said, use someone else's.
I just want to make sure that somebody else can find the shit that I can find.
Well, actually, I've already done the search, but I had it sitting on standby just in case you didn't show up. So. You got it there, Maxie?
I thought you said you were doing it.
Oh, I thought you said you were doing it.
No, I said I'd like to see that. I'd like to make sure.
All right, okay. Let me do that then. I'll do that. Not a problem.
You put your name down to host. I thought, okay, well, let's let him do this thing. I'll just sit back here and.
Did I put my name down to host? I thought I put it down as just StreamYard.
It was under the host slot, and I'm like, cool.
Holy crap! Okay, I didn't realize that.
Well, somebody put your name under the host.
Yeah,
slot.
they did. So anyway, guess who is number one on that list? Holy moly! Yeah, that just came out a few minutes ago. So, but you can see a lot of Alita content. There we are, right here. Cool. Jaya's got one out too. Jaya does really good videos. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I just love going on his channel and looking at it. And he doesn't just do Alita. He does other stuff. But he does really good Alita videos. And there's a little video there about Emma Watts. Obviously, that's Stars. So, and there's some more. Oh, another one by the creek. Holy mackerel! Who let that guy in there? Boy, look at that, Maxie. It's not. There's not as many full movie Alita Battle Angel full movie type.
Yeah, I
thing.
don't think they're getting a lot of clicks, so they're doing something else.
Yeah, there's the creek again. Holy mackerel! Hey, there's last week's. That was a really good stream last week. I enjoyed that.
Did you know it's partially blocked in some countries?
Oh, really?
Copyright strike? Yeah.
Turkeys. Oh, it is?
It's not coming up for me? Oh, I should check that.
Yeah, when I checked in the YouTube studio and you can see what countries that video is blocked in, I believe like Queen something Australia, whatever was one of those
Queensland.
regions where it was blocked. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
that's
that's where Angelus lives. It doesn't bother me. Then.
Oh, it's fine then.
Yeah,
Never
it is.
mind. Nothing.
Was it
valuable.
what was it there, Star? You said they do weird things over there, something like that.
Yeah.
It's working for me. So
yeah, there's another one by Creek. I love it. So
Wait,
anyway,
what was blocked?
last week's stream.
yeah, last week's stream. Let me go back up.
I don't know why they block it in one state of
Really?
Australia but not another. That's kind of weird.
That doesn't make sense.
You do think I'm
And
playing it right now?
Yeah, we didn't play any music on it. I don't get it.
Yeah,
So
it was a
anyway.
clip of the show, the anime that you played. I think it was the part where she was electrocuting her friend, and I think they got that part and blocked it.
Oh, okay. So that got them muted. Huh?
They're so
Well,
anal. That's
I'll
all
just-
over bloody YouTube. Those clips. I
Yeah,
just don't. I don't understand.
I don't
Yeah,
get
it
it.
should be.
I'll blame Maxie.
It should be fair use,
Jesus.
but
You
fair
play the
use doesn't
friggin'
exist.
thing off of YouTube and you get a copyright strike. It's like what?
Yeah, and it is. You're right. It is fair use. I mean, we are discussing it, and I don't get it. So anyway.
Yeah, and it wasn't like more than 11 minutes. As I understand it, when you're discussing something, you can use up to 11 minutes of footage. And I'm like, I know I didn't use that much.
No. Well, hell, the whole episode's only like 22 minutes or something like that. So we didn't come near playing half of it. So
No, it was like one little section.
now we're down into the area. Well, there's an Alita. There's some Alita stuff.
Well, in any case, that's what it looks like from another person's
Yeah.
Alita search engine, if you will. I mean,
Yep.
even though I won't be there next week, might leave a link from mine and then you can choose to use it or save it.
So
But,
it's good that the channel is rising in the algorithm or whatever, because before, let's say, I don't remember, sometime last year, it wasn't really coming up as high as it is. So that's a good
Yeah.
thing in the future. You may not feel like things are progressing now, but in the future, let's say more Alita content does start being produced by Disney or whatever, then people are going to go looking, and the work we've already put in is going to pay off then.
Yeah. Well, Creaky's been doing a little research on the algorithm, so I sort of figured it out. That's why some of my videos are coming up, and so I think we're going to apply that to the Radio Chaos stream here, and then that'll help us, I believe.
Speaking of research, I bet you've done quite a bit for today's topic.
What you got to screen?
Also, Creaky now quite interested in the Railgun series. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
at least I got one person to watch it.
Well, I've watched three or four episodes. Well, there was one little episode that was that was in there that wasn't really an episode. It was that very first one, Maxie. You know, I think it might have been like 8 minutes or 11 minutes or something like this. I can't remember. And it was kind of, it might have been like an intro to a certain magical, whatever that other one is.
Index.
Yeah, index. Yeah, that's right. And then after that, they were like, then the regular episodes picked up. At least that's what it was like here in the U.S., you know. So I did watch that short, and then it was pretty good. And then, of course, I think 3 or 4. I actually may have watched 4 episodes of season 2. So, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, I really enjoy it a lot. You know.
Oh man, you got to get to around episode 14. Oh, that's that.
Oh, I will.
That's when it gets heavy.
Eventually.
We'll be here to talk. We can talk about that next week. But
You betcha.
Get
And
on
let's
with
welcome
the,
Just a
main
Fan. He's here.
Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry I'm a little late.
That's okay, man. Better late than never, as they say.
Had a convention for work, so had to be at that, unfortunately. Would much rather have been here.
Yeah.
But you got here. That's the important thing. And
That's it.
we just finished the news, so you were right on time. I'm very impressed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm impressed too.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
okay. Everybody's impressed. We're good.
Yeah, it's cool.
mostly impressed with the
Okay.
I'm such a weeboo now. I've watched like 3 anime series in the last week. I finished watching Date Live, which is like I think it's 3 seasons and 2 movies. And then I watched what was the other one? No, it's not Ouroboros. That's Alita, isn't it?
Yeah.
Orishura. That's what it is. Orishura. Which was really interesting. And then I watched, started watching last night. I said, I'll watch 1 or 2 episodes of this. And then I'm halfway through the season already. It's called Toradora. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
So I'm getting into these slice of life animes now, which is a long way from Alita.
Toradora. Is that anything related to Dora the Explorer or something like that?
No, not even slightly.
Yeah, I used to.
Pocket
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
My grandson used to watch that thing, and I had to watch it right with him. So, yeah, it wasn't bad, though. Yeah.
They made a live action Dora the Explorer, so I think there's
Yeah.
hope for us yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
I got
guys.
$50 writing that they make a sequel to that live action before they do it. Anyway.
Well, since Creaky probably filled out the wrong slot there in the show notes and put himself down as the host when he meant to put himself down as the StreamYard and Google Meets manager. So I think that's what happened there, Maxie. But anyway,
Well, I
it's
mean,
cool.
you said you were making all of these slideshows and stuff, and it was your
Yeah.
topic. And I thought, well, if the guy wants to run with it,
Yeah,
who
well,
am I to say no?
it was a mistake. So anyway, but that's cool. I don't mind doing it. You know,
That's why
So-
you had me here back up.
to say what there, Angelus.
I was just going to say, that's why I'm here to back you up. If you
Yes.
like, wanted to split things up and
Yes.
divide and conquer.
Yeah. Well, at least Angelus and I have been practicing a lot on our stream, so it kind of helps a little bit, I think. Okay, folks. Well, I guess we'll go into to the primary topic here, and I promise, Maxie, this doesn't have 99 slides in it, so it's got just under 40, so we should be able to get through it pretty good, and it's fairly high level, but not, it's got some detail in it, obviously. So really, what we want to take a look at is, Alita. And really, what I looked at was just Alita's technology, mostly from the movie, but there's a couple of shout outs over to the manga. So because a couple of the technology in the manga, we haven't seen it, and we won't see it till we see that sequel that we are going to get. So and it's about her technology, just Alita. In other words, there won't be anything about Zapan in here or Kawishka. There won't be anything about Zalem, any of that stuff. Joshigan, yeah, or say Ajikudi or any of them. It's not going to be. It's just our girl, and that's all we want to focus on here.
Amen.
Yes. So anyway, and we're going to recognize a lot of these, if not all of the imagery, of course. And then there's Doc Ito, he's integrating Alita into her doll body. And just think about, we watched the movie 100 times. Hopefully we appreciate, what the story they're trying to convey here. Think about the level of technology that it would take to basically put somebody's brain in like what you would think of as a robot. Now, she's not a robot, she's definitely a cyborg because she does have an organic or a human component, physically. But we are hundreds of years at least behind this kind of technology. Now, a lot of it's recognizable to us for sure. I mean, those remotely used, tools or arms that Ito is kind of manipulating there. I mean, it's similar a little bit to what doctors do in some cases, when they're maybe doing research or maybe they're doing some kind of surgery or something like this on a patient where they got to rely on some robotics to help them do it. So it's very similar to that. And one thing I do love about this picture right here, if you look at Alita's face, that is so Rosa, isn't it? I mean, that looks exactly like Rosa to me. So it's one of my cooler pictures from the movie.
Just to expand on what you just touched on there. Essentially, in 2011, I had what they called a gastric sleeve surgery.
Okay.
And long story short, that basically permanently reduces the size of your stomach pouch. So you physically can't take in a lot of food before your body has to, do its thing and get rid of it again. To do that, they had to do what they call keyhole surgery. And basically, they make like various holes in your body, and they put they use like a camera, like on the end of like a adjustable stick, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, that's how they, make those like very particular incisions and then cuts and then sutures and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say that's like the very, very rudimentary, basic level of technology that we're seeing here. Like in the context of having robotics or technology assisting doctors. Obviously, in the movie, it's expanded to like assisting with cybernetic repairs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to my question, and maybe Maxie can even sort of help expand with his knowledge in science and biology. With the brain's electrical impulses, now as like our current level of technology, can we recognize and translate that, or are we still like a fair ways away from it?
I think they're still working on that one. As in most cyberpunk genres, it's there's two big problems with cyborgizing yourself or anyone else for that matter. The first one is rejection. So the body, what's left of the body, rejecting the technological components, not seeing it as self. At the moment, you've got to if you're doing any implanting, like into the tissue, not sort of surface to skin contact, like Tilly uses, you'd have problems with rejection because the body, what's left of the body tissues does not want foreign things to get in there. Now, in this story, you've got nanomachines that take the place of the immune system. So because she's got no human bones, she's got no way of producing immune competent cells. So she's got no functional human immune system. So you'd have to have an artificial replacement for that, or the brain would just be overtaken by by infection and die
Yeah.
because there'd be nothing protecting it. Having said that, the other problem is the nervous system to technological interface, which is something that most of the cyberpunk stories talk about in some fashion at some point, because it is the big sticking point. How do you get neurological signals connected to a machine and get them to talk to each other in real time with, you know, the speed that a normal nervous system would have? So it's not just building the mechanical components that simulate the body and you know, are better, because why the hell would you do this if you didn't have to, if it wasn't better? And of course, you know, they're working on all this sort of stuff all the time, and it's slowly getting better. I mean, they're working on cybernetic eye replacement for people who've lost their eyes, and at the moment the actual technology for that is very pixelated, and it's not particularly good, but they can actually do it. So there must be some sort of way that they can get the signals from machine to biological, but it's not perfected yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that was my question regarding that.
yeah. Well, that begs another question too, though, Maxie, is like her brain. You know, that is the organic part of her, and I don't believe that there's a whole lot of endocrine type system glands or anything like that in the brain itself, right? In other words, the brain would not have those same kind of immune response because it doesn't have the same kind of glands that the rest of the body.
That's what I was saying. So if you've got any sort of bone left, like, you know, some of these cyborgs have, you know, like other bits of the body which are still flesh.
Yeah.
But you know, even if you've got your skull there, I mean, it's not going to produce a lot, but it would produce some. But to have, you need a competent immune system of some fashion, and that's you know, where the nanites in the cyberblood come in.
Yeah, we'll be talking about them a little bit later too. Yeah, it's almost like, well, it certainly wouldn't be easier to have to put together a TR cyborg like this as it would be someone, say, like Tilly, or someone that has just a leg. Like I think there's one extra in there. I've seen, she was in a couple of shots where she had just one leg. It was Cyborg, but it's almost like in that regard, it'd be easier, isn't it? Because you wouldn't have all that kind of immune system response to kind of worry about, as long as it's just the brain. So,
well, basically, any part of the body that has a gland in it that's required as a feedback mechanism. In my personal situation, I don't have a functional pancreas. I'm missing the beta cells that produce insulin, and just missing that one part of a human body would kill me if I didn't have insulin every day. I'd be dead. You can't take away these things without seriously affecting how the body functions. The body is an integrated whole. You take bits out and it stops working unless you replace them with an artificial sort of simulacrum of that component of the body. And probably if we had the technology, it'd be much easier to replace the whole thing. Because I mean, like I said, you put anything foreign into the body, like you attach a cybernetic leg to a human body. At our current state of technology, as far as immune control is concerned, you'd have to take loads of immune suppressants to stop the body from rejecting that leg.
Yeah, I have a friend that has a pacemaker that I think he may have to take some of those immunosuppressants to stop the body from rejecting that, you know, because if that happened, he'd be dead. So, you know, I mean, I've read stories about people who get lazy with their immune suppressants when they've had transplants and it doesn't go well. Like, people have had to have a second heart transplant because the first one died. Yeah.
Shit like that. And I'm like,
holy crap.
Yeah.
Not good. So, but anyway,
I mean, it doesn't just die like,
it's a gradual. Yeah, that's right. It's gradual. Yeah. Yeah. This kind of technology right here, even though it looks pretty simple in the movie, and we've probably seen this, the Creaky's probably seen this 40 times, and a lot of people in the Elite Army's seen this a lot more. You kind of take for granted that this represents technology right here that's hundreds of years in advance of what we have today, although, I think we did a stream on this several months ago, but, a lot of the technology in Iron City and even Zolom for that matter, we would recognize today. And then a lot of it, even though you might look at that and say, oh yeah, those are robotic arms, but their function is something we have absolutely no way to do this. We have no way of taking a human brain and putting it in an artificial skull and making that a living person. We just don't have it. So.
Well, the interesting thing is that this is a society that's run. Technology has declined.
Yes.
The technology that Alita has in her core is no longer available. People can't make it. It's unknown in this storyline whether or not they can do it even on Mars where it originally came from. So humanity as we stand are used to everything improving. Yes. We've never had a technological dark age yet, and it could come. I mean, if you have enough war, you will smash all the production facilities. You may lose research facilities or facilities where this sort of information is kept. You may lose the people that maintain the machines, and they can no longer be maintained because nobody knows how to do it. That sort of shit could happen if you have big enough disruption to society. So something we have to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things, I guess, way back in antiquity, when the library at Alexandria, was destroyed. And I forget who the invading force was. It was another nation.
It was Facebook.
Oh, yes, the Egyptians used Facebook on their tablets. Yes, exactly. But I've read that that alone, that one act, where that invading force actually destroyed the library at Alexandria, set us back 500 years in terms of, scientific advancement, because they had information from all over the known world at that time, and we had to basically reinvent everything. So who knows? If that hadn't have happened, we might have interstellar space travel right now. You just don't know.
They've found like in graves in Egypt and stuff. They've found things that closely resemble batteries.
Yes,
like an acid in the base and the way batteries set up. It's very crude in the way it's been made, but it's like somebody had worked that shit out back then.
Yeah, they had recreated that on Mythbusters with the ancient batteries made out of pottery, and I don't remember what they used for acid, but it was some sort. I think it was a fruit of some kind.
Yeah.
Well, you can make a battery out of a lemon, but
absolutely.
Or even potatoes.
It's not a strong battery, but I mean the knowledge was there. It's just that they didn't have the technology to really implement it, and then it was lost. Something happened and it was lost. It's not hard to lose knowledge.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you can have shit written down, but if the library's burnt, or if the computer it's stored on and destroyed, or the people who know how to implement it die and don't pass that on.
Yeah.
I mean, we think that our technology is secure and our knowledge will just keep building. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. You lose all that subject matter expertise, I guess. So.
Exactly. Well, I mean, there's a movie, what's it called? Space Cowboys. Has anybody seen that one?
Yes.
With
Clint Eastwood and Tommy Lee Jones and Donald Sutherland. And
do you remember the premise of that movie?
Oh yeah, the Russian satellite up there, which really had nukes in it. It was supposed to be a communication satellite, but
why were the old dudes going up there?
Well, because the technology was so old, nobody knew it. He just said,
"Bingo!"
Yes.
So I mean, it's a problem that's been covered before, and I think will be covered again, especially as technology becomes more and more complicated. There'll be less and less people who understand it.
Yeah,
and we see this in Alita with the fact that. Hugo himself says that like most of this is own technology, so it's just been like taken to scraps and metal, like it's base materials as opposed to have it stripped for its technology.
Mm-hmm.
So most of it's being left alone.
Alloys that are strong enough to be tough enough to stand up to like re-entry and and space travel and stuff like that. Some of those they couldn't even reprocess because they wouldn't know how. It's an alloy that they just don't understand how it was made, so they don't understand how to unmake it and remake it.
They certainly didn't understand the Berserker body either, did they? Except maybe Ito, he was able to connect her to it. We'll get to that a little bit later, I guess. But yeah.
But it's interesting that we can actually look at things today and tell if they are from antiquity or they're modern. I was watching a part of an episode of Expedition Unknown. Josh Gates is the presenter of that one. He's quite interesting. My son is absolutely addicted to that at the moment. And they had this device. I've never seen one before this episode, but basically it's a handheld thing that looks like a tricorder from Star Trek Fifth Generation. And you just, it's got a readout screen, like a full color readout screen, and you point it at an object and pull the trigger, and it will tell you what atoms are in this thing. Jeez. So it will tell you, it's 99% copper and a few other little bit of nickel and a bit of iron and a bit of this and that. And I go, okay, well that's from antiquity because it's almost pure copper. We don't make things out of pure copper anymore because we know they're not strong enough. But that sheet is from antiquity. And then they scan this other thing. Is okay? Well, that's an alloy that they would have had no way of making back then. So this must be, a fake. This has been made much more recently. And I'm like, wow, I want one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
But a device like that would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I like Alita's face here. I mean, that is Rosa right there. I mean, there's several shots in the movie where you could look at her face and say, yeah, that's Rosa.
I think pretty much any off-angle shot of Alita that isn't looking like straight at her, it's dead on Rosa.
It helps if the eyes are closed because they're not, taking over the shot sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, but look at her. I mean, that's angelic to me. But anyway, another story. Yeah, Alita Battle Angel. So she's angelic. Yes. Okay. So anyway, here's Nurse Gearhead. She's she's got a cybernetic arm herself, and she's using that as a tool. Now we don't have an idea, what kind of systems are controlling this and how her brain's integrated with it. But this is a pretty complex operation, and of course there's Alita's heart right there. But you can kind of see the very complicated, very complex, kind of mechanisms and systems in here, that make up her, well, particularly her core here. And you can see that's part of her spine right here was. And then, of course, here's the doll body. And then you can see some of the areas where Ito is going to have to connect it up, So,
it's not a plug and play thing either because they're connecting Terran technology to Mars technology. So apparently that operation took like 28 hours or some bullshit.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was a very long operation.
In the novelization, they kind of go into that, and
even plugging her into the Berserker body, which is supposed to be, immediately compatible technology to her core, took them over 24 hours of work. Yeah, which is why they're so bloody tired afterwards.
Yeah. Well, you think about it. Look at all the nerve endings, that are coming out of her brain, that have to be connected to all these mechanisms and all the systems in here. I mean, there's probably literally trillions of them. I mean, holy crap. I mean, there's no doctor alive today that can do this. I don't think. The only thing I can think of it would be similar to this, it was from another IP, would be Star Trek. There was in the original series, there was an episode where Mr. Spock's brain was taken out of his head so they could use it, as this alien, group could use it to control their computer, kind of thing, and they, Dr. McCoy had to put Mr. Spock's brain back in his head, and how he was operating on it and all that. So, it's the only thing I can think of in movies that have done anything like this. So
I'd have to Google it, but like something that complicated
Kusanagi?
where like when this Gerhard is confirming those functions, if we were to translate that to today's like level of technology and knowledge,
Yeah.
I'd reckon maybe it might take 3 or 4 surgeons, and over the course of I don't know how long the body can stay open before it's really dangerous for infection to set in.
Yes.
But I'm assuming only one doctor can focus on one action at a time, and then because you want to keep their hand steady, obviously, maybe you'd switch surgeons so that you've got a fresh set of hands ready to take over, or you're ready to perform the next part of the operation, so you don't have to, like, I don't know, because eventually you need to close up the human body because,
Mhm.
I mean, you can't leave it open. I mean, maybe you can, maybe you can't, I don't know.
No, you can't.
But you can't leave it open for like hours on end and not have like some level of danger of infection.
Well,
Like,
what they
body.
do, when they're doing like transplants or they're, reattaching things that have been severed by accident, it takes them many, many, many hours. And you're right, you want to hopefully have a few doctors there that can take shifts so they're not all exhausted. Because with the human body, it's not just the nerves, but all the other bits and pieces. It's so complex, and we know a fair bit about a lot of like how muscles connect and all this and that and the other, but actual nerve connections. I mean, just reattaching a finger will take you 8 hours, and that's not 100% successful. So connecting the human, for example, in the manga, the idea was that human spines couldn't be replicated because they were so complex, and that's why they had spine thieves. And obviously Hugo was a spine thief, but they didn't do any of that in the movie. Spines were metallic, so they figured, we'll just skip over that important point.
Yeah.
But obviously Kishiro had done some research or talked to somebody about the complexity of the spine, and then decided, no, we're not going to be able to remake those, at least in the technology that was in Iron City, because it's too complicated.
Yeah. Well, there again, there's Alita's heart, and of course that antimatter microreactor at the top of it there. What's interesting about that thing is that, today we're able to create antimatter today. They've created antimatter at the Large Hadron Collider, in Switzerland, but they only create a few atoms of it, and think about, and that thing is huge, that Large Hadron Collider. That thing, the diameter of that thing is miles, type of thing. It's big, but and they can only create a few atoms with it. But this thing is tiny, it's like the size of maybe like a silver dollar or something like that, maybe a little bigger than that. And yet it's able to produce and store enough antimatter in it to drive Iron City for years. And think about that level of technology. Now, it's kind of like Maxie was saying, they can't replicate this now in Iron City because that technology is way beyond them. Even though it was 300 years in the past, they just can't make that. They can't make that stuff anymore. So that's
a matter-antimatter reaction, which is what drives the ships in Star Trek and all this sort of thing. Well, some of the ships. You wouldn't need a lot, because when the positive energy and the negative energy annihilate each other, it's supposed to turn everything into energy. And we know from the function of the sun and all those sorts of things that you get a huge amount of energy from a very, very small reaction. Matter is turned into energy, and there's not a lot of waste. It's the technology that harnesses that energy, and the technology that stops the antimatter from all annihilating it at once, and creating a massive explosion that destroys the Earth. Which is the sort of technology that you'd want would want to know works really well, and B, you'd really want to know that it's not going to fail on you.
Yeah.
Because that
Well, the
thing's been
thing,
sitting around for a while.
well, you mentioned that containment. The thing about that is that, that containment itself, today, I mean, I think we've had some theories about how to do that with what's called a magnetic bottle, because antimatter is, it's a reverse charge of regular matter, so in other words, electrons are positive. So if you have a positive field around it, it's not, it'll be repelled back into the containment field, but you look at that little bitty micro reactor right there, you'll go, whoa, that thing's small. What in the hell is making that containment in there work? I mean, what kind of technology does that take? Because that's not very large right there. And today I think some scientists have said, it'd take a large, I mean, they'd want a kind of a somewhat large containment field, because you don't want to take a chance of of an atom, antimatter atom, coming in contact with matter, because it would, I think, just one
what you
atom.
probably want is multiple redundancies and layers.
Yes, you sure would. You'd want 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 redundancies. The more, the better.
And
just in case.
From a purely technological, not story standpoint, fighting somebody who has a heart like that, if you were to break it while you were fighting them,
yeah,
you'd
be dead with them.
and most of your planet would be too. So I mean, like, maybe that's why they put these hearts into people who they were sending to fight on Earth, because they were too dangerous to leave on Mars. I don't know.
And if they blow up on Earth, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I guess the whole thing about it too is that, with a cyborg that had a heart like this, although Alita's the only one, because she's 300 years old and all of her contemporaries are gone, but I would think there would have to be some kind of systems that would even protect it, because if it's electronic in any way, then an electromagnetic pulse could actually take down, the field around it, and that would be a problem. So they probably got some safeguards in there that protect, that reactor from that kind of an EMP more than likely,
Yeah, because you wouldn't want your ship full of berserkers coming in and they just EMP it and the whole thing explodes. That would be a bit of a waste.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, your ship would blow up.
We have technology now. I mean, it's not in widespread use, but in military use, there is EMP hardened electronics. So, we're already working on that sort of thing.
Yep. And of course, here's the heart's bloodline, and there's, some cyber bloodlines. We're going to get into that a little bit later, what comprises it. We all know what heart's blood is, because we all have about, 8 pints of it in our bodies, of plus or minus a few ounces, I imagine, depending on the person, But those cyber bloodlines, it's probably like our blood in some regard functionally, in that there's multiple components of it. Certainly there'll be the nanites in there, but there could be other types of fluids and gels that have different functions, that are also maybe got some intelligence built into them, so they can take over whatever function that was intended in the human body, that particular, whatever that fluid was, or whatever that nano machine was, that it would take over the function of its counterpart in the heart's blood. So that's just another indicator of just how advanced Alita is, compared to cyborgs even in this time, 540 years in the future. You look at Japan. Japan doesn't have an antimatter microreactor as his heart. He may have somewhat of an artificial heart, or he may have a human heart. Who knows? They don't really go into that too much. But if he does have an artificial heart, it's not going to be like this, because it's like Maxie was saying, this is technology it's lost. This hadn't been around for over 300 years, and that's one of the reasons why Nova in the movie wanted Gerwishka to kill Alita and bring him her heart. We all remember that quote. So So, but there's just a couple of indicators there about just how advanced her technology is. And, what's kind of funny about this too is, today we tend to think of advanced technology beyond our capability, maybe aliens have or something like that. But we tend to think of it as like hundreds or 1,000 or so years in the future, or 100,000 years in the future. In this case, it's in the past. All this technology is in the past, and what they have now is woefully inadequate. In terms of, in comparison to what Alita has.
Well, I don't know that I'd term it specifically woefully inadequate. The average lifespan of a person, is 100 years, and this heart obviously is over-engineered to last a lot longer. It's also designed to produce a lot more power, because what you've got to consider is that, these cyborgs eat, but I don't think that beyond providing nutrients for the brain in a TR, that food is doing anything like it does in a human body.
No.
The power to generate movement in the muscles is provided by the reactor.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure that Zapan has some sort of reactor in his body, and it's probably quite compact compared to what we'd be able to make these days, but it certainly wouldn't utilize antimatter, and it wouldn't have the longevity that a reactor like this would have. So,
yeah,
I mean, it just seems a little bit odd to me, unless like somebody produced a shitload of these because they could. That they're going to be putting something so complicated and possibly dangerous into their frontline troops.
Yeah.
It just seems to me a little bit odd, but I mean that's just super science guy going, oh, this seems a little bit weird, because you look at these sorts of things these days. I mean, in war they do all sorts of stupid things like make nuclear bullets that they can barely fire far enough not to catch themselves in the blast and shit like this. But
yeah.
I mean, this is pretty goddamn dangerous. I mean, you have a ship crash, and one of these bodies gets mangled, and the heart gets mangled. Boom.
Yeah, that's right. It blows everything to smithereens.
I mean, you got to look at your technology and go, well, yeah, any sort of massive damage, which can happen, like ships falling in the sky and stuff.
Before we move on to the next slide or subject, I'm sure that this is just based off our own sort of level of technology and knowledge. I think you even yourself addressed it earlier, not too long ago, that they would have had some sort of fail-safe or level of technology that would prevent that from happening, or what's the word I'm looking for? Mitigate the level of damage that would happen.
Yes. And they probably kept the troops remote from anything important, maybe out, kind of like what you'd have in Australia there, out in the outback where there's nobody living, where in case one of these guys did blow up, it wouldn't take out anybody else. Maybe
well, it's like Mandatory Carry was saying, you only need to combine one atom of antimatter and one atom of matter to create a huge amount of energy.
Yeah.
Whatever store you've got there in one heart, I mean, you could have a whole division of soldiers with this shit. If a ship crashes on top of them, the planet will vaporize.
Yeah.
It's the same problem with the technology in Star Trek. You've got the Romulan starships that use micro-singularities. All we'd have to do is drop a couple of them on a planet and wipe half the planet out. It's not hard.
Well, in this case, too, where like when Alita was in the she was military, you remember they were going up that supply tube. There was probably at least half a platoon, there. Can you imagine if something happened to all of them? Of course, something did happen to most of them except for Alita and Gelda, which was kind of interesting because they all fell to Earth and the planet wasn't wiped out. So I guess there was a lot of safeguards in there just in case.
You look at half the bloody stories of Star Trek have them having to having to eject the warp core because the thing's so fucking dangerous that if you leave it on the ship when it's damaged, bye-bye ship. It's the same deal. I mean, these technologies where they're producing huge amounts of power come with huge amounts of risk. And, you put it on a starship, sure, the starship's out all the people in the starship will die if something happens to it. It's like
Yep.
flying around with a bomb strapped to your back. This is
Yep.
walking around with a bomb in your chest.
Yeah. And,
I mean,
and a
really.
very badass bomb, I might add.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Alita's heart to completely nuke a big city at the very minimum,
Yeah.
even if hasn't got a huge amount of antimatter in there.
Yeah.
But if depending on how much has to be stored in there, I mean, it could be enough to take out an entire planet.
Well, it's like
And,
egos.
if they pissed off enough with Earth, I mean, you send a berserker down there, you have the berserkers go berserk, and as a final, hurrah,
Yeah.
you have the heart go critical. I said, job
Uh-oh.
done. You don't need
Yeah.
a whole army. You just
No,
need
you
one
don't.
guy.
You just need one berserker. That's exactly. Maybe that's why they call them berserkers, I guess.
I mean, I'm not denying any of that isn't a possibility, but I really do think this technology, the way they have it, or at least to the level that they imply it's perfected, is a lot safer than you're making it out to be. Like, I understand the implications of actually having antimatter, but like you said, we've created antimatter here. It hasn't engulfed our planet because they can't keep it stable.
And
Yeah.
they can also
So-
can only make a few atoms of it.
If you know,
Yeah.
I guess my point is, if you have the technology at hand to make something like antimatter not only stable but usable, my guess is you also have the understanding to create a proper fail-safe and to protect it and everything else to say, okay, if this does go wrong, we're not all going to die and the universe won't end as they know it. Because at least still in the movie, Earth is the only planet that has like resources on it in mass.
Mhm.
Like, so even if, we could say, oh, well, they blow Earth up, one berserker is all it would take, their heart explodes, it eats the whole planet. But that would still spell disaster for them. Like, that would be disaster for everybody, including themselves.
Mhm.
Well, I would think to the level that we're shown, it's perfected in the film. I'd bet everything I've got that they've also got the technology to contain it and use it, and also to disarm it. I mean, look at today's technology with explosives that we have. You don't build the bomb and then all of a sudden, okay, now what? No, there's trained professionals who not only know how to build explosives, but they can dismantle them.
Well,
So wouldn't this be along the same line?
In general use of explosives, the more stable the explosive, when it's not wanting to go, when you don't want it to go boom, the more use it gets.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why C4 was created, because it's so much more stable than things like gelignite or TNT.
Yeah.
The problem with antimatter is that it is something that is incompatible with the universe, right?
Right.
It's incompatible with any other matter, which is what most of the universe is made up of, that we can touch. And having, brought it together and put it into something as everyday as a power source for a cyborg just seems to me to be a little bit OTT. The thing is, it's not like an explosive where, well, as long as it doesn't have a primer on it, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
As soon as its containment fails, something's going to happen, and you're going to know about it. So
Yeah, you are.
it's not a stable until activated.
Right.
It's stable unless protections are lost, which can happen. I mean,
Right, and I agree with all of that. My only point is that to gain the understanding to a level where you can use it, I would like to think that also includes an understanding to where you can disable it too. I don't know what that entails, but
well, the theory of everything but that is a theory that they're working on at the moment. I mean, you could use they know how matter and antimatter annihilation works. They understand that.
I agree with that.
Antimatter. They understand how you'd contain it. Of course, they can't make the technology to miniaturize it this far. I mean, the first computers took up a whole room and did very, very little. The first hard drive they had to put on a forklift, and it was only a few, kilobytes.
It took up a whole city block to have a computer.
Yeah, but miniaturization is one of the later steps of technology. You start out with something that's massive, and then you shrink it down. So obviously, this technology, as you say, is very mature. They started out with big like tokamak sized reactors of this stuff, and then managed to shrink it right down. But the problem still remains that the physical containment of something that is naturally abhorrent to the universe, that if that fails, you're fucked, basically.
Right, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And it is much more dangerous than something that is stable unless activated. So
Yep, no, and I agree with that completely.
Pandora's box, you can't put it back in once it gets out.
Yep.
But what would they do with it? You'd have to have some sort of technology that shunts it off into a pocket universe or something. So pushes it somewhere where it's not going to annihilate within our space time. You teleport it somewhere. I don't know, but that technology would take up space as well. So, I mean, it's a little bit. I don't think humanity would be dumb enough to use antimatter in this form. I don't think we would.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Unfortunately, I think humanity is dumb enough to do it, and it's going to take people to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
I think that the risks are huge compared to the benefits of a micro.
By the way, guys. By the way, I want to tell you guys something that the Creek, early in his professional career, used to operate second generation computers, and they were huge. I can tell you that. So, Sin of Sanity says, or not Sin of Sanity, I'm sorry. I kind of got the wrong tweet there, or not tweet, chat text. Enigma Seeker says that he doesn't think they should have used antimatter in the movie, that they should use nuclear fusion. Now, I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I get the premise behind it. I do get that. I understand that, but I guess my problem with that is that he used fusion as her reactor would have been, and now I'm going to be linking this back to another IP. So it's kind of screwy a little bit, but when you look at Iron Man, he probably has a fusion reactor as part of his suits. Well, Alita's technology is over two. Yeah, that's right. And he has nanotech too, which is 240 years behind Alita's. So I think I'm kind of glad they use antimatter because, just being the science fiction buff I would have said, wow, 240 years in the future, and they're still just using fusion reactors and cyborgs and critters like that, like Iron Man. I mean, see, to me, I think I don't know if I'd like that much, or I would have liked Alita anyway. They could have put anything in her, and I'd have liked it, but
well,
but still
safe and clean and long lasting and high output versus mass energy generation is the holy grail of an advanced society. Once I mean, like Tesla Motors, getting those cars with enough battery storage to hold the power needed to go long distances and then quick recharging is like the holy grail. Like, we can build great cars, but the energy systems in them are the thing that's holding it back.
Yes.
And that would be the same deal here. I mean, just getting the energy requirements down small enough that you wouldn't have to go and plug yourself in every couple of hours to recharge your batteries, so that your cyborg body doesn't fall over, would be, at least in the beginning, one of the bugbears of technology like this, keeping it powered. So I mean, there are a lot of hurdles to do this sort of thing.
We won't worry about batteries and whatnot, and I think we've done this antimatter thing to bits now. So we'll move on to the next part of the stream.
Yeah. Well, here she is being integrated, or after being integrated into her berserker body, and we of course recognize this image, and certainly we see this. I mean, berserker cells. Really, these berserker cells, they are pretty cool, in terms of being advanced technology. they are they're nano machines or nanites or nanobots, whatever you want to call them, but they're a very adaptive technology. It's almost like, well, they're certainly sort of like AI, but they can adapt to a lot of different, mimic a lot of like human cells in a way that they can, maybe do repair for the body. They can reshape the body to the image, as we all know, of the person that's inhabiting the body, and just take on a whole plethora of functions. And these cells make all of this happen, and that's a pretty cool, right there. That's a pretty good technological upgrade, if you ask me, because a lot of I guess science fiction, where we talk about like Iron Man's an example, or say Vision or something like that. Their nano technology, particularly Iron Man's, is not like this. I mean, it has functions, it does cool stuff and all, but these are adaptive. I mean, these berserker cells are extremely adaptive, and it's almost like there's no limit to the way they can adapt, which I think is extremely cool. I mean, thinking of this was, Kashiro, wow, what an imagination this guy's got, because I don't recall seeing anything like this in any other science fiction IP ever. Now, it could be, the Creek just missed it, but to my mind, I can't think of anything else. Can you guys think of any other science fiction storyline that comes up with cells that do the same thing these berserker cells do?
The only thing that would maybe come close, and even then I'm not too sure, and you guys can by all means correct me on it, but Blade Runner would be the replicants, their level of tech would probably be the only one that I can think of. At least, like,
I'm thinking of Spawn. I mean, Spawn is obviously an alien, but his abilities, all the stretchiness and the combining with other life forms
Spawn's a human that died and came back from hell, didn't he? Is that who you're talking about?
No, I'm mixing my metaphors. No, I'm not Spawn. Oh God, what's his name? The movie just came out. Carnage was another one.
Yeah.
Venom. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got the wrong name. Yeah. So the alien race or technology or whatever the hell it is that's created Venom and Carnage and all these symbiotes.
Yeah.
I think that it seems odd that something like that would evolve. I'm thinking it's probably more technological based, but
I don't know.
Something
I got
like
the impression it was more organic, but I could be wrong.
Well, these berserker spells are supposed to be pseudo-organic in their functionality, but obviously way better than anything that's evolved.
Yeah, exactly. That's their design. And it's so cool the way they're adaptive, the way they are too. But, we remember this scene, Okay, just some more about Alita's technology, I guess. Just a quick take. We've seen this before. I think we did a stream on this, but there's another look at her heart. And you can see all of the components there of it, and the cyber blood and the heart's blood. And there's that antimatter microreactor again. So, it's something we've become pretty accustomed to here. And then here's our girl right here. She's got that's her heart. And basically there's that antimatter reactor again. So
it really should have one more cable to be providing actual electrical power to a cyborg body. I feel that, the energy production system of a human in comparison to this is the heart is not involved with providing energy
power
per se. It pumps the blood around, which has the nutrients in it, which are then converted to ATP and the cells move.
Yeah.
But that unless the cyber blood is electrified, I'm not quite sure how they would transmit that that power around the body.
Yeah, maybe that's why they call it advanced technology.
Mhm.
That's that heart's blood too. Not only does not only does it transport nutrients, but it transports oxygen, to various cells. It also transports the immune system, the leukocytes and lymphocytes, and it does a whole bunch of cool stuff. There's a whole stuff I can't even. I'm no biologist, Max. You know more about that than me. But it appears that this is doing a similar thing with the heart's blood, but the only part of her that really needs this is her brain. The rest of her has to have this cyber blood of these berserker cells and probably other kinds of fluids, chemicals, and just a conglomeration, kind of like our blood is. Red blood cells, white blood cells, a whole lot of different stuff, and they do similar functions, obviously, but it's like Maxie says, another thing that happens with this heart is it provides her with power. And boy, does she have a lot of power, that's for sure. Now, I think in a previous stream, I said her heart was beating about 30 beats a minute, but I kind of timed it again and watched it. It's more like 20 beats a minute. So because it was like once every 3 seconds or something like that, or between 2 and 3 seconds. And it seems to me that the way your heart works in a human, it's got to be an optimal speed. In other words, too slow a heartbeat's going to be a problem for you, but so is too fast, so there's got to be something in the middle. And it seems to me that for her, the slower heartbeat is going to be the optimal whatever it is, because it's kind of like, Maxie, I think you brought this up a long time ago, but like an athlete's heart.
Yes.
When they're at rest, it doesn't beat as fast as a normal person's heart. But when they're actually doing what they're doing as an athlete, their heart might beat a lot faster than a normal person's heart does. So,
not necessarily. I mean, you go too fast and you risk messing up the timing of the beating, because the muscle can only react so fast.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a window of maximum versus minimum of a heart, and a fully trained athlete that is shifted downwards, so they're getting more with each beat, and that's why when they're at rest, the heart doesn't need to beat as much. And there's people who through meditation can actually slow their heart rate right down, and it doesn't kill them. Everything else has to slow down to compensate.
Yeah, my point was, though, is like when an athlete, when they are doing what they're doing, let's say their heart is beating 100 beats a minute, they're getting more out of that than say, at least this is what I think anyway, they're getting more out of their heart when they're doing that than a normal person would if it was beating 100 beats a minute. And matter of fact, if it was beating 100 beats a minute for a normal person, that might be a problem, maybe. But an athlete, seems to me that particularly someone like a runner, or something like that, does sprints and that kind of thing. It seems to me that, they're conditioned, they've built up their overall strength, and their heart, their whole cardiovascular system is stronger, and is able to work harder and get more, work out of that system than say an average person would. Seems to me anyway. So
no, you're absolutely correct. I mean, looking at my Fitbit right now, my heart rate just sitting here being excited about Alita is 70 beats a minute. So, but I know people get up to 150, 160 exercising, and they're trained athletes.
Shame. Should be 99.
972, Maxie. I'm excited about Alita too.
but I mean, some people, their heart rates get up over 200, but that's not real safe.
No, it's not. No.
You wouldn't want to do that for too long.
Yeah.
Turn green. You'd Hulk out.
Yeah, Hulk out. Yeah.
Sorry, wrong franchise.
And then, of course, I think we saw this on that stream a long time ago, that we have artificial hearts today, but they don't do near the functionality that the Alita's heart does. Alita's heart's pretty cool, I think, but anyway, there's a couple
You could almost say unique at this stage.
Yep, very unique. Of course,
I
it's.
really want to know what's left of Mars. I really want to know what's still going on up there.
You mean after it got hit with that nanotech virus bomb
Uh-huh.
or whatever that thing was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole problem with technology is that you've got to have a society to sustain it. And if you have big holes punched in that society, you lose technology because you don't have the maintenance structures anymore. It's not the issue that it exists. It's the issue that all the maintenance structures and the knowledge structures have to still be there for it to be continually used.
Yeah.
And a lot of those knowledge structures were destroyed in this interplanetary war.
Yeah.
And that's why technology has regressed. Because they just don't know how to make it, don't have the ways of getting the materials needed to make it, or don't have the methods anymore, or the structures that were built to produce it in the first place being destroyed. So they can't do that anymore. They just don't have it there. It's gone.
You know what's so interesting about the whole the whole thing about Alita and her universe and all this is that it's the several dichotomies there are in various societies. For instance, in an Iron City. You know, I mean, it's almost like you'd be stepping back into the 30s or 40s. But then you go up to Zalem, and it's more advanced, than what we have here today. And you go up to Jeru, it's even more advanced. Venus, and these guys have interstellar space travel. They kind of ignore Earth, Iron City. So that's what I think is kind of interesting, So
it's like below the notice.
Yes, below their notice. That's exactly right. And
I
the
mean,
manga. Oh, yeah, in the manga, they've actually, some of these folks have evolved in such ways where they don't even look human. They're just weird looking.
Exactly.
Like those people from Venus, they look weird to me. But anyway.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But you look at that sort of technology, and we're jumping from the movie to the manga, but obviously the technology that Zeus is using to produce power is a microsingularity, which is dangerous, but they're using wormhole tunneling to move that power around. So when Alita's Imaginos 2.1 body gets linked into the singularity power source by a wormhole tunnel, that's a way safer way to do it. You've got the power source that could go kaboom somewhere else.
Yes.
You might lose that power, but you're not going to explode where you are.
That's why I think Alita in the Imaginos 2.1 body can beat Thanos. That's what I think. But anyway, that's my opinion. We had a stream on that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Anyway, Alita's plasma weapon. Now, before we get into that, we just wanted to show you a little bit about how plasma works. And really what plasma is, it's ionized superheated gas. And and the fact that it's ionized, in other words, it's now the electron has been stripped, from the atom that's in the gas, which kind of gives it like an electrical charge. And now it conducts electricity, so it can kind of form this circuit that you see right here. And plasma is extremely hot. Certainly I think you can regulate that, and I don't know how to do that. But this is
there's different types of plasma. They can be different temperatures. There's cold. Yeah. It's all relative, though. I mean, cold plasma is still really, really, really hot.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, though, is like, now this is today's technology right here, at least a kind of a artist's conception, or kind of just a diagram of the concept of how plasma works. But when you look at Alita's plasma now, she's not conducting electricity from one place to the other. She can do that. I mean, she can. I think we had a stream last week or week before where we talked about, she can actually call down lightning, particularly in that Imaginos body she had. She can actually call lightning down just like Thor does, and that's because this plasma is electrically charged, and it is extremely hot. Now, these are the temperatures I got, and it's kind of like it's kind of like you were saying, there are different temperatures, different gases. Just a Fan, you were saying they have different temperatures because of different gases. That's right. This is kind of like what I picked out as and I can't remember the sources of this, but kind of an average, more or less temperature. But it could be hotter than this depending on, what she's pulling in. Now, I think in the movie, Ito said something about, that her plasma is actually like an arc plasma.
That's correct.
Where she is sucking air in through those portals, Now, if that's the case, I get those temperatures may be fairly close. I mean, and of course, there's no mention of how hot those things are that I can remember. Maybe some of you can. But to just compare this, what I think Alita's temperature is on her plasma is like 11,600 degrees not Fahrenheit, Kelvin. And the sun is 5,800 degrees Kelvin. So it's almost, or it is twice as hot as the sun, So, I mean, that's Creaky's opinion. There's no way to really know it. Yeah.
So modern arc plasma torches are 3,000 to 7,000 degrees typically. They're most of the time under 10,000.
Okay. All right. Well,
but it could be as low as 3,000. The problem with plasma is and cutting or doing anything with it is energy density.
Yeah.
As soon as you start, that's why it's concentrated, so that you can focus it, make it useful. Otherwise, it spreads out, and just like anything, then it's useless.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe maybe the technology of the Berserker body has kind of solved that problem. I mean, we don't know, I mean, there's no way they don't bring it up too much in the movie for sure. And even in the manga, I don't remember seeing anything in there that explains the controlling mechanism or the generation down at the systematic level, how they do that. It's just she has a plasma weapon, So you're right. It could be as low as 3,000 degrees Kelvin, but you know what? That's freaking hot.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, it's still hot.
Yeah. It's like, well, you remember she cut Gorishka in half with it, and that plasma went through him like, a hot knife through butter. So, I mean, it's,
Enigma brings up a good point that depending on the temperature of plasma at that distance from somebody's face would possibly melt their face off. Certainly temperature drops drastically through air, but not that much.
Yeah. So well, we have to remember this is fantasy. So it's not and she may have a way, we don't know what her controlling mechanisms are, may have a way of controlling the temperature, by thought or whatever she's doing, and maybe the Berserker cells working with the systems regulate the temperature and it, make it a lot cooler, who knows, we don't know how that works, but I know one thing, that plasma was hot enough to go through Gorishka, and it wasn't difficult for her to cut through him. I mean, that sword went right through him. It was, and as you can see there, she doesn't need that sword, to use her plasma weapon. That's her finger right there. Man, you can.
Her hand's just the electrode. The sword is really just a tool, if you will, to plug into her body.
Exactly.
It's just a way like I said, just a way to focus it.
Yeah, I got a couple of slides coming up on that addresses this, but you can put an eye out with that thing.
Yeah.
Not just an eye, man.
I'm loving the pun there. I'm loving the pun there.
Yeah.
Imagine if she was getting excited with Hugo and accidentally activated. It's like, oops, sorry, Hugo.
Yeah.
Cooked him.
Yeah, then she really would be hot, wouldn't she? Mm-hmm. Whoa, sorry about that.
They actually bring that up in the manga. She actually says that in the manga about being afraid to be anywhere near Hugo because she might hurt him.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Well, she even told Figure 4 and that guy that was hanging around with him, I can't remember his name, but not to get close to her, because people get close to her, they die. And that wasn't necessarily just because of the plasma, but of course she had that Toon body then, didn't she? She didn't have that plasma weapon. So
no plasma weapon there.
Yeah, exactly.
But she had the bloody bat doodads, like all of the all the little bits and pieces.
Yep.
So if plasma is really, really, really hot and Alita is really, really, really hot, does that mean plasma has got the power of Uru?
Oh God! Well, look at that face. She's got the power of woo.
Why don't we get a plasma torch and test it on Angelus and see if he goes woo woo?
Nah. I want Angelus to stay on my stream. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, Grady. Love you,
So anyway, but you see that pretty face there. Yeah, she's got the power of woo. There's no doubt about it. So anyway, there's the air intake ports right there, of course, and that's what I guess is an integral part of her, arc plasma itself. And, once again, we don't know how she controls it. Even Ito, you remember in the movie. Now, of course, these are fictional characters, but even Ito doesn't know. He just hooked it up. He has no clue how this works. So he just knew how to hook it up.
Honestly, I mean, I kind of took that as relative. Like, I think like we were saying earlier about like the specific nervous connections.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the part Ito doesn't know. But as for controlling it, I mean, we have today, I mean, they have quote unquote mind controlled drones.
Yes.
So to me, it'd be that same manner. But yes, to get to the nitty gritty, we were talking about lost technology, we don't know the specifics of it.
Yeah.
I think that's more what he's talking about, not the yes.
Well, he did say, you didn't come with a manual, did you? Which she didn't. So,
Yeah.
Can I make a point on that image you've got there?
Yeah, sure.
Ido says that it takes air in through ports in the arm,
Yep.
but what's actually happening there is venting. I think those ports also vent. So obviously you'd have
there's a vent and the air intake.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it probably serves more than one purpose, because that's not actually air intake in that shot. That's venting.
Yeah, that is venting.
For cooling, I would suspect.
That's
right. But when she's generating the plasma, like what we see here specifically, that would be intaking air and then they vent it out.
Yeah, that's
well.
Right.
She stopped. What happens is she stops the plasma in the finger, and then the arm sort of goes and vents excess heat.
Yep.
And you can actually see
the same thing. The same exact. If you've ever used a plasma torch, the exact same thing happens, especially with the really big industrial grade ones like a plasma table. The exact same thing will happen especially if you don't shut it off right. You'll get that exact same reaction.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
You played with some of this, have you there?
Oh yeah. There's a makerspace. Besides the lab we did in college, there was a makerspace. So I did plenty of cutting on a plasma table. But yeah, it's the same, especially if once the electrode and the electrode wears out, there's like 4 pieces that basically layer together to conduct the electricity and direct the airflow around the electrode. And especially once those start to wear out and the beam of plasma doesn't get as constant and less intense, so it doesn't cut as well, but you'll get you'll get that exact reaction. You don't get it as much when it's brand new and cutting good, but once it starts wearing out and that plasma starts spreading out and the airflow is not as good and all that, then you'll start getting those same reactions. Yeah. Or if you increase the power significantly, you'll get that same. But my big thing that I look at the joints in her fingers.
Yes.
Those are still there, and her fingers are also layered. So part of me that I'm thinking about, for lack of a better image, a taser, because that's basically what she's got, is a taser on the end of her finger that she's blowing air over to generate the plasma.
Okay.
So I'm looking at that, and that to me is what's happening. It's basically what's happening in that diagram you showed, except that you've got maybe a positive electrode on the front of her thumb, a negative on the back, and it's arcing, and air is going from that vent down her arm, out the fingers. There's valves in there to control whichever finger she wants, or her entire hand, or wrist, or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's like that.
Go from there. Because I mean, there's a lot of that's a lot of ventilation, which tells me that whatever she had firing was very, very, very low in terms of whatever percentage her capacity is.
You're saying she could ramp that up big time?
I'm saying she was just like, well, so I'll use it's not plasma, but I'll use a cutting torch as I guess technically it is plasma if it's laminar flow, but a cutting torch.
Yeah.
When you start a cutting torch, how it flares up.
Sure.
And then once you turn the air on and get the acetylene balanced with the oxygen, how it the flame becomes more defined, and then it also changes how it flows and how it cuts. That initial part,
too, isn't it? It's
That initial part where the flame is looking like a flame.
Mm-hmm.
that to me is exactly what's going on in that scene with the plasma on the end of her finger. And she's just like basically playing with it, real low intensity. I mean, it looks exactly like starting up an acetylene torch.
Wow.
And to me, I would think if she really wanted to, said, oh, okay, let's try it. Bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, in the manga that she has plasma fingers and they're like
Yep.
claws
Yes.
made of plasma. So obviously
Yep.
she
You're
can
way ahead of me.
ramp the airflow up.
And I have no
push
doubt that
more
that
air
is the
through
same
it.
capability of this in the film. We just don't see it happen,
Whoops.
other than when she's got the sword.
But I would presume that the plasma would cut a lot faster
Yes.
than acetylene or something like that.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the only reason they use acetylene is because we don't have portable plasma.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
would you imagine? Could you imagine trying to fight somebody with an acetylene torch? I mean, if they're unarmored or anything, you know, just bare flesh would melt over pretty quickly.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you know, if you're fighting a cyborg, you'd want something a little bit more. oomph.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And like we said before, if you've got that heart and it's obviously somehow contained well enough to be reliable, you know, you've got a heck of a weapon there.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Once you've got that power source, the rest of the technology really isn't,
And I've got to say,
relatively speaking.
this sort of technology is far more extrapolatable from what we currently know than something like Cyborg from DC, where
Yes.
you know his arm converts into a cannon and just that's clearly like woohoo out there alien
Right.
technology, because it's nothing that we could extrapolate from where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Not to
That
say
is what
that
I
it wouldn't
love about this
be
film,
possible at
because
some point.
you know, it's far-fetched, but at the same time, every single thing that happens in it, you can almost directly point to something today and say, I'm pretty sure that's the same principle, almost exactly.
Mhm. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Justifan, we, several months ago, we did a thing on just general technology in the 26th century.
I
And
do
the
believe
thing
I
is-
was on that one.
Yeah, I think you were. And we, you remember, we what we talked about was how all of it was kind of relatable. I mean, it certainly was more advanced than what we had, but we could recognize it. You know, I mean, it wasn't like alien technology to us. You know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that was. I didn't realize it at the time because I was trying to process this film when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But my goodness, by about the fourth or fifth viewing in theaters, I mean, I was pretty aware that that was one of the biggest draws, was just how practical. Like, science fiction is awesome, but when it's practical science fiction,
Yes.
even if it's still incredibly far-fetched and hundreds of years out there, it's like when you can point to something and say, yeah, that looks like that.
Well, in believable technology and the rule of cool, because the rule of cool is what, you know, uneducated moviegoers will appreciate, whereas people who are trained in the sciences will appreciate that they've put the effort, and I think that they've done both. I think they've balanced
I think so
quite
too.
well.
Yeah.
Actually, Shadiversity was talking about the rule of
That's one of the things. That's one of the things that impressed the Creek about the movie too. I mean, among a lot of other things, including Alita herself. But yeah, I mean, when I went to college, which no, Maxie, wasn't that long ago, and
They had colleges.
But
and
I
they
would-
did dressing?
yeah, that's right. But I you know, I was in-
University.
yeah, that's right. University, that's right. So anyway, I was in pre-engineering and physics when I started out before I went to computer science. So yeah, I mean, to me,
Had they split the atom then?
yeah,
No.
yeah. Well, I tell you what, I witnessed the man walking on the moon. So I mean, that says something. A good bit of my life, you know, was
If there had been a window in the womb, so would have I.
Yes. So anyway, but we've had streams where we've talked about Alita generating this plasma, and we see it there. It's engulfing her hand and that sword, and we saw that. Yeah, we saw that that image a while ago where she didn't have the sword, still had the plasma, and then of course, you know, here at the end when she's you know, kind of, you know, I'm going to get in your face, Nova. You know, I mean, you have the same situation. Now we've had talks about whether Alita, whether the Damascus blade itself had some kind of plasma generating quality to it, that even in her motorball body, she could, when she was in touch with that blade, she could still generate the plasma. To me, I mean, I can see how that's possible, but I also think it could be that Ito may have put some of the components for plasma in her motorball body, maybe.
I would argue no, that it's not. There's no plasma generator. It's just she's got a nuclear power plant for a heart.
Yeah.
So you're taking that electricity from her heart down her arm. Her hand is basically the best analogy I can use, even though it's a horrible one, is I think of it like all those docking stations for charging your phone where you just set them on a surface and they charge.
Yes.
Effectively, I mean, I know it's not that, but effectively that.
Yeah.
Where so my point for that is, if you look at you should be able to find a picture. I'm trying to find one, but if you just look at a picture, pull up a picture of the sword. It's a circuit. It's a circuit board. The sword is a circuit board, and if you look at the film when it energizes, the only part of that sword that is energized is the silver, and her hand lines up exactly where the silver on the handle is.
Yeah.
And that too, close up, is a circuit board. So all she's doing is transferring the electricity from her hand to the metal in the sword. It's going up the side of the sword, following the circuitry in it, the circuit board in it. And you've got plasma simply because it's there. It doesn't matter if it's her hand or the sword.
Yeah.
It's an arc plasma.
Well, and plasma is it's conductive stuff. I mean, it's, just like electricity, so yeah, I guess you're right. So we've had a couple of discussions about that, so, and one thing I guess that I thought about that too, is that, motorball does have regulations to it. And probably the guys that were in charge of motorball said, nah, none of our competitors can have a plasma weapon in them, so, and said, no, that's one weapon you can't have. Similarly, like what they said, that you can't have a projectile weapon, so.
And then you get characters like Exploder.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was
somebody's skating the rules there.
Yeah, well, that's because old Vector said, "This is not a race. This is a hunt."
Little sticky note and Sharpie there in the rule book.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, there's our girl right there. She's threatening Nova big time, which
he thinks is funny.
Yeah, he does. He may not.
Because he's an arrogant son of a gun.
Yeah, that's right. So
everybody thinks it's funny standing that far away.
Yeah. He's up 2 miles. So you're not going to get to me. That's what he's probably thinking,
Vector thought it was pretty funny too, till she was standing in his office.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. Yeah, it wasn't so funny then. Anyway, here's Alita in her 3 different movie bodies, and this is pretty cool. We kind of already seen some of these already, and then some more bodies. I think there was Maxie, I believe there was that little contest we had about how many bodies did Alita have. Well, I'm going to show 9 here, but that's because they're technology. There was one body she had that was
14, wasn't it? We came up with.
Was it 14? I thought it was 10. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Well, we weren't counting her bodies as a little girl and all that stuff too, a baby, But anyway.
Oh, the 14 included baby Alita and after Alita.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, but here's the bodies I got in here. Certainly that one at the top left there in that image there is her Imaginos 1.0 body. And then, of course, the one with the cowboy hat on, that's her civilian body. And that's a cool body because she sings in the Kansas bar and all that. And then we see the motorball body and the berserker body right there. But also, there's a doll body. So we've seen that already. Okay. But she had some other bodies that were not limited to that. I mean, certainly that body that she had when she was in the military, that was different. Now, I think she eventually did get a berserker body, and I don't know if that's a berserker body or not. But it doesn't look like one, but it could be one and just configured different. Who knows?
That could still be Imaginos.
No, I think that was she was on Mars when just before.
This is post Zot, so she was at Imaginos 2.1 by that stage, but that could just be a different get up at the same
No, I
body.
think I think this was in volume 6 of the Mars Chronicles.
Yeah, well, Mars Chronicles, the
I guess
continuation follows on after Zot.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. So anyway, yeah, it's after Zot. So yeah, that's probably now I don't see no tail on her, but anyway, that's okay.
Well, that body is adjustable, just like the Berserker one was. So
yeah, configured to her thought.
Imaginos basically means whatever your imagination.
Whatever you're imagining, yeah. And the OS, I guess, means operating system. Maybe, yeah.
Could do.
Yeah.
I don't know. He got the name from a song by a band. So.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, there's her tuned body. So that's the body she met Figure 4 in and beat the shit out of him. So anyway.
It's a Blue Oyster Cult album.
Ah, I'll have to go look that one up. Maybe make a video out of it.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Whose grave was she visiting in that shot? I forget.
It was
it's not a grave. It's a marker, like a war memorial.
Yeah, it's like a memorial or something to the folks that fought in the Great War and that kind of stuff. And she brought these flowers to it, So.
And where she met Erica and the manga.
Yeah, and they started fighting each other, and she told Erica that I know you're a necro soldier because I killed you 200 years ago. So that's
she's like, what?
What the hell? It kind of got her attention, I guess. So
just to fill in the gap, Imaginos is the 11th studio album by the American hard rock band Blue Oyster Cult, released in '88.
I gotta go get that. One. Maybe I can make a video out of that. So anyway, and then of course there's all of our Imaginos bodies. The Creek likes 2.1 the best because she's got that tail. I really like that tail.
As do I.
And she's still got Uwu in all 3 of those bodies right there. That's for damn sure. And then, of course, and this is what Maxie was talking about a while ago. She had those plasma fingers. Is there something up, Tony?
I've said I've made no secret about the fact that I don't like the tail at all. I really just I don't like that body. I don't like that whole design.
That was actually a fan design. Kishiro ran a contest. And that was the winning design he picked.
Well,
she was being a big caddy during that arc, though. So
yeah, she was. Fits. Well, they called her Cat Lita, so I mean,
I don't know who drew this picture, but I love it. That is exactly what we were talking about earlier with venting. What would happen if Alita turned the voltage up a little bit?
Yeah. Now this is
don't you also need to have the airflow increased to push it to make them longer?
Probably.
Yep. So she'd be up in that too.
Well,
so whatever it's got for an air intake, that's.
Well, this is definitely the Imaginos body, though. This is not the Berserker body, so it's a little different.
Could you imagine a current technology air pump? It'd be like.
Yes. Oh man, you'd wear that thing out in this body. So. Now, the Imaginos 2 body is kind of similar, I guess, in at least the way it looks, and I think it's got a lot of upgrades in it. But when you get to the Imaginos 2.1 body, the body that the Creek likes, that Tony doesn't like, that one, she's connected to the Singularity, she's connected to Melchizedek. So, in other words, when she's fighting opponents in this body here, Melchizedek can actually predict the future, so it's almost like she can see what they're going to do ahead of time. So
she's a Jedi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Which is another reason why the Creek thinks that Alita in her Imaginos 2.1 body would beat Thanos, even with all the stones. So that's just my opinion. So anyway, that's this. I love this picture on the right too. That is really cool, And yep, she's got Uwu in this.
The interesting thing is that the manga actually predates that statement that Christoph Waltz makes as Ido in the movie about the predictive technology, the adjustable technology that's recreating the body and her mental image of self. And these changes to her imaginous body only occur when she's becoming conscious again after having been wiped out. So it's the same sort of thing, that her mental state and while she's becoming conscious affects the way her body outputs these changes, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. Now she, in the manga, she doesn't have those wings for very long, does she, Maxie?
No.
Yeah, it's just like
they get knocked off her.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 panels are gone. So,
but each one of those sort of wing tips is almost like a Damascus blade.
Yep. Oh, she'd be badass.
And that's going to be one epic shot in the sequel.
Yeah. Oh, that would. Oh, God Almighty, that'd be great. That would be in the third.
That's going to be That's going to be at least 30 seconds of those wings unfolding.
Yeah, boy, the Creek's going to go nuts when he sees that. So anyway, he sees those wings, come out.
What I find most interesting, and honest to God, this is not me saying hurry up or anything like that, is that we've been going on for almost 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I am not tired one single bit. I'm not bored. I haven't been lost. I've been engaged, like mentally, and like I'm still wide awake.
Yep.
But you were eating a piece of pizza, so you weren't 100% concentrated.
Well, I ran out of chocolate. What can I say?
Yeah, there's a problem.
But I mean, over 2 hours, nearly 3, and I'm still like so engrossed, engaged, involved, invested, and that just goes like to the topic, to the IP itself.
Yeah.
It just blows me away.
Yeah. Well, that's
for the record there, Angelus. I just looked it up. The last technology stream went for 4 hours.
Yes, but I had 99 slides.
Yeah, but didn't you use like 16 or 20 of those just showing the
behind the scenes?
Ring?
The space ring. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the first 6 or 8, then the last 10 or so or more, maybe 15 were behind the scenes, so Creek put a lot into that one, so he promised not to do that this time.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We still salute Creek.
But here's the thing about this, though, and this is why I say this, and Maxie may not believe me a lot of times, but this is why I do not get tired of doing this stuff about Alita. To me, this is fun. I love doing this, and I love doing those videos, and I love, kind of, presenting our girl, to the, to anybody that want to see it, I mean, to me, that's, I never get tired of that, Now, people get tired of stuff. I don't know. I don't think I ever will, though. I just don't, So,
well,
anyway.
that to me is the key is, if it's not fun, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as we're all having fun, I see no reason why it can't go however long it needs to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, the only thing about Creaky, now I'm immortal, so I'm going to live a long time. But I mean, I don't want it to go 20 years before I get a sequel. So that's for sure.
Because that's 20 years they could have made.
I'm kidding about the immortality thing too. So, but anyway, this is sorry, Tony. This is my favorite version of Alita right here. Although I love all of her versions of Alita, so it's no big deal, So. Okay, just Alita's extremities, I guess, because we haven't really hit those, but her hands and her feet, and they and say her joints and her arms and her shoulders and stuff like that, there had to be particular care taken for that, because remember, all of her mental connections are to every part of her body. So it kind of, it's just another, kind of a shout out to the level of technology it would take to pull something like this off.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that in the film, the joints and bearings and wires and everything needed to make it function are actually present
Yes.
and not just like blurred in.
Yeah. Well, look at
I
her
mean,
hands.
I know. Look at the close up of her hands. Look at the close up of every joint. Everything is there. The bearings, the actuators,
Yeah. Well, look at her.
Weta
everything is
went to
there.
town. All I can say is Weta went to town.
Yeah, they
Yes,
did.
they had a field day, and somebody was
And
having a good time.
And the detail. Look at her feet. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
her toes. It's the same thing as with her hands. Those, knuckles, and all that stuff. And in the movie, of course, we saw her doing her hands. I mean, God, just the attention to detail that they did.
What I wouldn't give for a step file of that.
Oh my God.
Oh my good! I'd sell just about anything to get that.
Yes. That'd be great. And then, of course, Alita. Now we've talked about this on a couple of streams, and at one stream I kind of likened it back to Terminator. And Creaky likes to think that Terminator is really in the same universe as Alita, just 240 years before. That's kind of the way I think of it, although that's not really it.
Should have turned left at Albuquerque.
That's right.
Damn Terminator accidentally ended up in Alita's world and perished.
Yes, that's right. And, well, there's her skin. Now we've had discussions about that being synthetic, but it's still real skin. And the reason why I think that is because in Terminator, the skin was actually grown, for those cyborgs, which I think were more like androids or robots. But anyway, they put the skin on. This is the same thing, I think. I think her skin is probably synthetic, but it is still skin. It's just the technology they had, they were able to reproduce that skin. And then, of course, I know Maxie and I have had this discussion on a couple of streams about her skull being some kind of carbon nanotube titanium type alloy or composite, and one of the reasons why her brain actually survived the fall, from depending on whether you want to go with Zolom.
If you throw enough funky technological terms there, it can pretty much do anything, right, Creaky?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I would argue her skull isn't one thing. We can even see in this little bit of a cutaway, it's layers. So, I would say, if you've seen like the cutaway of like a golf ball, where it's got like 7 or 8 layers and each one serves a different function. You've got my guess would be you've got something along the lines of titanium for what's with her brain. It's got to be biocompatible. Away from that biocompatibility, well, true with anything in her body.
Yeah.
You've made I hate to say you've made life easy for yourself, but once you're biocompatible and that system is stable, now you've just got to, now you can choose the best material for the job because you don't have to worry about contamination.
Yeah. So
you could make her skull out of anything once you get beyond that first layer of biocompatibility.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing about titanium too is it is lighter than steel, but just as strong. It's a little heavier than aluminum, I think. But it's it's extremely strong. It's like, and carbon nanotubes will only reinforce that. And that could be
and it's
part
one of the very
layering.
few materials that is biocompatible. The body will actually bond to it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh,
this is the sort of cutting edge technology that in 50 or 100 years will be doing the sort of things you see in this movie.
Yep.
Is that what they make like plates and screws out of to fix major injuries now?
Yep. Yeah, it's almost all exclusively titanium, at least the high end stuff. Though I was watching a video. They were using a composite, but they literally replaced the entire back, like third or 2/3 of this woman's skull it was a composite plate that they 3D printed.
Damn.
And so, to that point, so like if this is where, like, when I was reading the manga, I was just incredible. The movie's cool, but when they were talking about in the manga about how, like, the spine is too complicated to whatever, it's like, okay, so that's an interesting thing, because then what that means is now, for lack of a better word, you're finding something that can plug into the spine. So now all of a sudden, at least that sounds a little bit more feasible than trying to recreate the spine completely and the interface with the brain.
Yeah.
Um,
Although
which
Alita's
is
spine,
interesting.
Alita's spine is mechanized. I mean,
Right,
it
yeah,
is
in the film.
in the film. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But that's why I was going down the manga route, is because it's like, well, maybe somewhere, because there's things that the film did that the manga didn't, and there's things the manga did the film didn't.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like
right.
somewhere in between here, in some convoluted combination, we might have something.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, what you've got to remember is that the spine is too complicated to replicate in Iron City / the scrapyard.
Yep.
That's a low-tech cybernetic world.
Mhm.
Up in Salem or Jeru or Mars or it's probably not a problem.
Or say Jupiter, particularly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I was exclusively about Iron City.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted to make that clear that
Yeah.
particular zone is of that technology.
And that was my point a while ago, about how the cyborgs in Iron City don't match up to Alita in terms of the level of technology, So here's our girl. Of course, a lot of folks recognize this because this is my goodnight tweet just about every night. But, she's got synthetic hair. And this is something else we talked about, is that, this is probably synthetic hair, but it is still real hair because they were able to reproduce it there in the 24th century, I guess it was, just like they were able to reproduce her skin, and then of course we got those pretty eyes right there. Now I guess the thing about her eyes too, and I've heard people say, why do they make her eyes so big? Well, think about it from a practical standpoint. She was a soldier. And, that kind of gives her like almost night vision kind of quality, because those irises, those pupils rather, they can expand pretty good and take in a lot of light, So that's kind of what I came up with on that one,
It also means if they are some sort of biomechanical whatever, because they're larger, you can fit more capacity inside of them, just like a bigger computer is more powerful, can take in more information.
One would theorize that if they can make a antimatter microreactor, it wouldn't matter a whit how big the eyes were. Yeah. They could put all that technology in them. So I don't think that one stands up to the other parts of the technology gradient within the Martian cybernetic body. I think it was probably more aesthetic than anything. I mean, you look at all the different shapes and sizes and layouts of cyborgs in the movie and in the manga. Yeah. They can make themselves look anything they want. I reckon this is stylistic.
Could be. Although Gelda did have big eyes like this too. Now you couldn't see the other berserkers.
But you think about it. You think about it. All the really like strong militaries of the world have worn an iconic uniform, right? Mm-hmm. This could be like that. This could be, oh shit, they're berserkers because they've got the big eyes.
Yeah, that's
they're military. They've got those big eyes.
And it kind of gives them that little bit of extra punch, doesn't it, in terms of perception?
It could be something that's like psychological warfare.
Yeah, it could be. But my point is, Max,
they've got their eyes on you because they've got these big eyes.
Yeah, but my point is, Max, that could be right. The reason why they wanted them or what that may be, but still,
there's always secondary benefits.
There's the fact that she's got these big eyes, and those irises can expand quite a bit, and who knows how much bigger that those irises can be compared to human iris. She might be able to take in as much as 4, 6, 8 times as much light at night as just a normal human.
Well, and it isn't just night vision too. You look at every study, biological study that's been done on eyesight, trying to figure out eye size, it's all relative, not to body proportion, but in terms of essentially the speed and velocity at which an animal can move and process information.
Yep.
You're going to need bigger eyes to take in all of that. So we're talking about something that is feasibly moving close to the speed of light, possibly in some of these cases.
Yeah.
I mean,
or
berserker
even in
bodies
her,
were moving Mach 6 or something like that.
in her berserker body, she can move at supersonic speed. So
Mhm.
yeah, she's going to be able to have to process visual information
To
fast.
do that over a long range is one thing, but just to move, just to so much as flinch and process what you just saw and not see a blur,
Yeah,
that's a lot going on.
yeah, it is.
And a lot of time, I think we can liken them a lot. I think this is where like Star Trek was really, if you look at the ships in Star Trek, they had these massive picture windows
Mhm.
on the ships. Well, yes, one, that is definitely a status symbol to say, yes, look what we can do.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that now you've got a huge field of view.
Mhm. And of
So-
course, Angelus, she still's got the power of woo even here. So
Mhm.
that's cool.
Lots of reasons, lots of abilities, all of which are justified and all of
Yeah.
which are probably useful.
Yeah, I
Between
do
her
agree.
eyes and her reflexes. That's
Yeah,
possibly
because
why
we've
she's
done
able
we've
to
done
reflect the
streams
bullet.
on that about her reflex. Well, you saw it in the factory.
Yep.
When she was in there when the one Centurion fired that bullet at her and she deflected it. I mean, I calculated her reaction time was between 5 and 10 milliseconds.
Yep.
I mean, that's just another side benefit of that, I think, probably, and
Yep.
you made the point a while ago about her Imaginos body, moving, at relativistic speeds. Now we've had discussions about that, whether she could, after the retcon and stuff like that, okay, I get it. But the way I look at it though, Kishiro still wrote the story. So I
Mhm.
still think she has it, but anyway, if she's going to move at those speeds, she's got to have reflexes in a picoseconds, to be able to, because you're going to run into shit if you don't,
Mhm.
So, yeah. Okay, well, let me move on because we're way past 3 hours. And then, of course, there's her arm body. And to Maxie's point, yeah, this is probably Imaginos too, because this was after Zod. So, but a neat thing about that gun she has right here, a rocket launcher, what that thing, I guess, is this little guy right here. His name is Danko, and he's he's AI, but he is sentient. And there's a lot of panels of manga where she's talking to him,
She's arguing with him.
Yeah, that's right. It's really funny to see someone arguing with a gun. So,
You guys never played Mario then.
a long time ago I did, yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's a sentient weapon. So they're, in a very real way, they're partners, those two. Yeah, they do fuss and fight, but, still,
It's very interesting that he had that gun, not quite in that design, but he had that gun in the original image he did for the first cover. And
Yes.
it took until the third series for it to show up in the actual comic.
Yes. And then last but not least, in her Imaginos bodies, she has a brain chip. And then, of course, thanks Kunstler 99, that was a picture this is not, he made a bunch of those. That's pretty cool,
Whose head did that come out of? God damn
yeah.
it.
Well, I'm going to say it, it's Alita's, she's going to have this in the future, I guess, Jeff's made the brain chip for her and she's going to get it, So anyway, but in her Imaginos body, in any one of the three, at that point, she doesn't have any organic parts. I guess you could say her skin, her eyes, perhaps are biomechanical, and maybe her hair are still probably organic. So yeah, she's still a cyborg. But we've had discussions of whether or not she's human or not, and yes, she is. She's still human, even in these bodies. So. And another thing about this, and this is today's technology or humans, no telling what this brain chip can do. Because remember, she's connected to the singularity, so there's no way of knowing, what kind of capacities for information she's going to have being hooked up to Melchizedek and all that stuff. But I looked this up on wired.co in the UK. And the human brain, on average, has a capacity to store 256 billion gigabytes. So that's billion, folks. In other words, enough to have 1.2 billion PC hard drives. It's enough to stack CDs all the way past the moon, if you think about it, and fill up 15, like what you would think would be the public library, 15 of these buildings slap full of CDs. That's what a human brain can take on. And she's
if only
got
the OS could access it properly.
So yeah, right. Yeah. So think of that brain right there. I mean, in this little bitty chip, she has this and probably more, so pretty cool, I think.
And then Buddy had 3 of them. Supernova has 2.
Yeah, that's right. Embody had 3 of these bad boys. Okay, I guess that's pretty much it what I have. Did we miss anything, guys? Anything you want to bring up about her technology? Because the creep could have missed something, I'm sure.
I got distracted by my son while you were talking about the hair and the skin. In the novelization, the prequel novel, they talk about skin but they don't really make it clear whether it's grown or 3D printed or however the hell it's made. They don't really go into that, probably because it just was too complicated for the writer. But they just sort of gloss over that part. But the hair is like it's just a tube of keratin. It's not hard to make.
Yeah, that's right.
You could quite easily make little micro machine thingies that could just produce hair. And Alita does in the novelization wonder if her hair's going to grow and stuff like that. I think it wouldn't be very hard to implant micro tube producers into her scalp, which would grow hair, and you could just turn them up, because. But that would be something that her body would require, material to create that. So that might be where some of the food that she eats goes.
Yeah. Plus, that makes the case that her skin is organic too, because the hair would be connected to the skin, and of course, it's got to be given the environment or the basis for being able to grow, just like would grow on a human head. So, Alita is a human, but you know what I mean. She's
we know what you mean.
And also think about the technology, like Maxie was saying, and that's a good point, Maxie. If this skin was 3D printed and that skin is organic, holy crap. Think about that technology just for a second.
Actually, they're working on biological 3D printing at the moment.
I was reading an article on that just a couple of weeks ago.
It's really like a new form of skin grafting.
Well, there's all sorts of things. Like the biggest problem with growing new organs and things like that is actually get them. They can make the cells reproduce, but getting them to take the right shape is really hard, especially getting them to take a mature shape straight up rather than growing very slowly over time into the final form, which is what happens normally in the human body, is the really sticking point with growing artificial organs and stuff like that. But if you 3D print it into the right shape, then that jumps over that hurdle, and that's what they're working on.
Well, here's the thing another thing about Alita is the berserker cells. Those things are adaptive, and they can do a lot of different things, and they can form the various organs themselves if they want to. Now in her, she doesn't have that. She's got that cyborg body. Or that mechanism. For a body. But from her imagination, her self thought, those berserker cells can adapt. They could probably form a kidney or two, or a pancreas or a heart or anything, for a human. They could probably do it,
Mm-hmm. And they could also go absolutely wild and
yeah.
Let's take the limiters off. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Nova. Slap.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, there's that brain chip thing we just talked about too. So, and of course, she's got a lot of information at her disposal, not just in the chip, but also it being connected to Melchizedek, which is a super advanced quantum computer. I mean, we make quantum computers today, and we did this in the stream a long time ago. But Melchizedek is far more advanced than that. So, she's in this form right here. She is something else, as they would say. Okay, now did we miss anything? Anything else that, or did
Just
you
on
think?
the technology of creating a brain analog, the human brain is an amazing evolution of a biological organ. And our understanding of it is very limited. We don't know a lot about how those neurons interact and how memories are, formed and maintained and accessed. And the idea is that every time you remember something, you're actually reliving it within your head and then laying down a new memory of that. And that's why people who think over things a lot, it changes within their brain for them because they're relaying it down over and over and over and over again. And my father was quite, I don't know whether you call it bad or good at this, but he would think through a situation until it changed for him and he could deal with it. And that's why you remind him about something, you go, oh no, that's not how it was. It was like this. And we're like,
yeah.
Well, everybody else didn't see it that way, but okay.
Yeah, everybody else did see it that way. You're the only one seeing it that way.
Exactly. So memory is malleable, like human memory is malleable and changeable depending on how many times you relive it within your brain when you're remembering it. And that's why, like the stories become epic as you get older because you add to them and you change the way you view them. It's like fishing stories, basically. But that's not to say that people who remember things over and over and over again are doing something bad. It's just the way this thing works. So would a brain chip do the same thing, or are those memories now laid down in perpetuity and will never change?
I think with the brain chip, it's they can record what happened for real, and then they can replay it for you and change, alter it in small ways to affect a different outcome. And then you can, like the next time you perform that function or that action, you achieve that outcome. Maybe that's how it sort of advances the brain process, whatever you want to call it.
Well, you mean to tell me that T-Rex that chased me many millions of years ago was really a coelophysis? Is that what I'm hearing?
Now that's a fishing story.
Yeah, it is. Okay, guys.
And John in the chat says that we can't forget her other technology, the power of Uwu.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sir. That is exactly right.
I mean, you could have a whole stream on that.
Yeah, our girl has that, boy. She sure does.
I guess one thing I was going to say in regards to just the technology that we see in general, we look at the like Boston Dynamic robots and things and like the feats that they're trying to accomplish with computers and things like that. A lot of those challenges, because the brain is so because of everything the human brain can do, if you have a means to plug into the brain, even if it's only very primitive and can only do a fraction of the percent of the things the human brain can do, you've overridden a lot of those challenges because you've just tapped into this supercomputer that already knows how to do all of these things. You just have to give it the right outputs for all of the inputs you want to do. So you don't need to work out the bugs to move an arm or open and close a hand or figure out how to do anything. You just need to make sure it's plugged in correctly, and then you see everything that tool can do. Once once you turn it on, basically, you see everything that tool can do. It's, in a lot of ways, it's almost working backwards, but it's an interesting process, mechanically speaking, once you jump a type of gap like that. And, you know, we see that a lot with more complex tools in general. You give even like video game development is a good example. You give that to a professional video game player, and they're going to make that game do things you didn't even know was possible, and find, for that matter, bugs you didn't even know were there.
Mhm.
You give a tool,
Exploits.
you give a car to a professional driver, and they're going to make that car do things that you never thought a car could do.
Mhm.
And nothing changed, mechanically speaking or physically speaking in terms of inputs, but there's all these minor things that, or not minor, but like precision, I guess. It's an interesting thing where with a lot of this technology, the complicated part isn't actually the arm or the leg or whatever. It's once you've got that connection established with something like the brain, it's almost game over in terms of reaching that goal, because now the hard part is establishing the connection and optimizing it. Once you have that, you can do whatever you want.
What you've got to remember is that a human brain doesn't pop into the world fully formed. It evolves and learns,
Mhm.
Yep.
and this is why they're creating learning machines.
Yep.
Because they've discovered that the only way, you can't create something that does all this stuff. It's got to learn how
Right.
to do it, and it takes a lot of repetition and a lot of doing. You can't generate creativity out of nothing. Creativity
Right.
comes from a long time of taking your inputs and testing outputs and testing things, and amazing runners, people who go beyond what was thought was possible.
Yep.
Just take speed, right? People thought 10.1 is the fastest you can run 100 meters, but people keep beating it. How do they keep doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Repetition, doing it over and over and over again, and finding ways to shave off 0.1 of a second and 0.01 of a second. And it's that sort of adaptability of the human brain and the human body that is so hard to recreate.
Oh yeah. And that's in a lot of ways what makes Alita so special, in that, you read the manga and you realize that she more or less grew up a cyborg. So you compare, like in our world today, like a professional hockey player that learned to skate before they learned to walk, and compare them to somebody who learned to skate at 16. It's night and day, because their brain literally evolved to learn how to skate better. And with this cyborg technology, or you look at the kids today where they grow up literally with an iPhone in their hand.
Mhm.
I mean, it's terrifying, just like you say, because the brain literally evolves to learn how to do and function whatever is at hand.
The water you swim in.
My final word is another piece of news that I forgot to include, so I will do my final screen share. Here we go.
Okay.
Now, this is, I just got it from ST, but basically, let me mute that. Where is it? Oh, in Tokyo. So in Japan, they literally developed a robot.
I saw that.
To basically, like, not only mimic a human, but mimic its, like, its makeup,
biomechanics.
or its composition, or whatever you. I'm not that smart. I don't know all the big words. But yeah, so basically all the ribs, all the muscle, or what would account for muscle, so they could study the way the human body, like human movement, body movement, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Standing on its tippy toes, like you saw it playing badminton, doing push-ups, sit-ups, and all sorts of other exercises. And and that's what they've just got. Well, we can see here what they've got today. So
Japan loves their robots. And that's another thing
We
about
do.
technology. Technology advances really fast when you need it. Like if there's a great need, like during wartime, to
Yep.
beat the opponent, your technology will advance because you throw everything into it to try and come up with a way to succeed in what you need to do. And wartime is like we must win because we don't want to get beaten and we don't want to die. So the greatest technological leaps in the first half of the 19th century came during wartime, and discovering ways to use those in peacetime came later. So,
Yep.
I mean, need is there, and the Japanese society needs robots at the moment.
Wasn't the internet like initially developed for the military?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then we found a way to make it for cats and porn,
Abuse
but
it.
that came later.
Yeah.
cat videos and porn. So
there you go.
these things will come about for a particular reason, and then will spread out into lots of other uses that people discover for it.
Yeah.
And it's the way that the human brain works as well. It will find something and then find a way to use it in other ways.
Well, that's what I missed anyway. I wouldn't say Creasy missed it or anything like that, but and that'll be my final input, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, anyway, we're pushing on to 3 hours here, so probably you need to give folks a break, especially those guys in Europe.
Just to finish my point that Angelus interrupted. The Japanese society needs robots at the moment because they've got a very top-heavy society at the moment where there's a lot of old people and there's not as many young people, and they're a bit concerned that there won't be enough people around to look after the elderly. So they're creating robots to companion the elderly.
To do that, yeah.
Yeah, and that it's human technology taking the place of something that biology used to do.
Yeah.
And that's the adaptability of humanity, in that we'll come up with ways to deal with problems that we've got. And yeah, I think that it bodes well for us in the future that we are this adaptable.
That's kind of like that movie I, Robot. They had a lot of those robots that were helping people in their homes and stuff like that in that movie. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, that's pretty much it for the Alita, the technology or cyborg technology of Alita Battle Angel. I guess Maxie, you want to talk about this one right here?
Which one, right where?
It pains me that I won't be here for this one. But
that was I think Jaya suggested that one as a topic.
Okay, so we got to get him on.
I got to drag his ass in here.
Yeah,
it's not an easy
right.
thing to do on a Saturday afternoon, much like
That's
Tony's issues with Saturday afternoons. But he just muttered this, or muttered with his fingers, typed this into text chat last week or the week before, and I thought, oh god, that's a good one. So yeah. It's kind of like those tier list things that are very popular at the moment. But basically, if Alita could have a dream team to go into Zot with her, I mean, admittedly, Zex is pretty high up there.
Genos.
Yeah. Who?
But yeah,
Genos.
Yeah, this is
from your stream yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, but he's not. He's not part of Alita's world. But
it doesn't have to be. No. This is a dream team from anywhere.
Nice. Okay.
Kusanagi, or Genos, or I don't know. Who do you think she'd want on her team?
I think Genos. I think Genos would fall in love with Alita if he met her. So
he does seem to be that. Well,
yeah.
Come on, most of the Alita.
He's a 19-year-old, so sure he is. So, okay, guys. Well, I guess that's pretty much it then.
Yep.
Any other final thoughts?
But we will be asking fairly early in the week, won't we, Tony? For people's additions on Twitter and Facebook and various other places about who they think Alita would take from the multiverse of human storytelling into her Zot team.
Mhm.
So think hard and think wide. You know, maybe she'd take a Claymore with her. Maybe Makoto Misaka could be in there giving her a hand. Who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think? This is one of those as wild as you can come up with. Genos.
Well, you know, another thing about it too, Max, we ought to not just limit it to 3 players, because it's kind of like, say, like a football team or a baseball team or a cricket team or, you know, rugby or, you know, have 3 extras. So, you know, if somebody gets out, they're injured or whatever. Yeah.
I think it was, I'm going to have to go back and look, but I think the Zot allowed up to 8 or something, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
So-
she didn't have that many people to call on, but you can
Yeah.
have more.
She didn't need that many.
No.
Anyway.
Alita
Sorry,
counts for a few already, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Sorry.
Okay, folks. Well, I guess that's
Good stream.
pretty much it, I guess. So I guess what we'll do our call to action here, and it'll be on my count of 3, and that's going to be film those sequels, baby. So my count, 1, 2, 3.
Film those
those
sequels,
baby. Okay, thanks, Alita Army. We'll see you next week. Bye now.
You know, back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up my nights, come cheer up my nights. It's better to have loved and lost. It's better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc Picard than never to have loved at all. The Federation starship, come cheer up my nights, come cheer up my nights. It's better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, 17346732147 Charlie 32789777643 Tango 732 Victor 73117887324767897643676 Lock. When I have plucked the rose, Earl Grey hot, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease. In faith, I do not love thee. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? When I have plucked the rose, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease. In faith, I do not love thee. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up my nights, come cheer up my nights. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. Incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic. No one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic. Incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic. No one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic.
That's an interesting twist.